Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. Basketball is back. The NCAA Tournament Sweet 16 tonight. He's Ari Timken on social at Ari Sports, ARI Sports. I'm James Westling on social at James Westling. This is Big 12 Radio. Watching us on Big 12 Studios on a Three Things Thursday. Ton of basketball today, but we're also chatting with Kenny Dillingham, the head football coach at Arizona State. But yesterday we thought, what are we going to do with our time? Today we've got a jam-packed slate of college basketball tonight. The first game is Texas and Purdue at 6:10 Central Time on CBS. And then we've got to wait for Arkansas and Arizona at 8:45 Central Time on CBS. And then at 9:05 it's Illinois and Houston tonight. That game is on TBS and True TV. Are you ready, and why are you scowling at me?
No, I'm trying to look at you, but I have this weird look in my eye. Today, I'm under a lot of stress today.
Okay.
So I'd rather not talk about any of those kinds of things.
Okay.
So.
Does it have anything to do with Bill Self?
No.
Okay.
Who?
Just taxes?
Oh, God.
It's tax season.
That's another stressor that I haven't even.
So yesterday during the show.
I should get on that.
You and me both. Yesterday during the show, a lot of these spam accounts were reporting that Bill Self was going to step down. Bill Self said, I've had enough, because it was really starting to catch fire a little bit. Bill Self calls up his buddy at the Kansas City Star, who he's known for decades, Gary Bedore, and says, Gary, that's all BS, no news. I haven't made a decision. That's bad information. How did you feel upon hearing that?
I mean, look, you and I both heard some stuff yesterday that echoed the same sentiment. A lot of times when that happens, it means there's probably no news, right? A lot of times when there's, waiting for news to hit, and we've heard from people that this news is going to hit, a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, that news doesn't end up hitting. So, it is bizarre with the recruiting that Kansas is doing right now that there'd even be a thought of Self stepping down, especially, again, considering, Kansas is a really good recruiting class coming in next year.
Top 3 in the nation.
And that's without Tyron Stokes, who they still may get. So, I guess I wasn't surprised, because it felt like for a news dump that was overwhelmingly public that it wasn't going to happen. And I guess it feels more and more like Self is probably leaning towards returning without having any knowledge of it.
I think the longer this gets drawn out, the better that is for Kansas and the odds of him coming back. Can we circle back to why you're so stressed?
Yeah, absolutely.
What's going on?
Well, so I'm in a survivor pool.
Okay.
Very stressed, okay? It's a stressful day.
All right.
It's the first time I've ever made it to the second weekend of the survivor pool.
How many people are in the pool and how many are left?
I don't know how many started, but there's 139 left.
Okay.
So a substantial amount of people were in it.
This is a big round.
Huge round. Arizona is my pick. But that's what I'm stressed about.
Okay, why?
So, I have to pick somebody today, somebody tomorrow, and then I've got to pick 2 teams for the Elite 8, but it can be 2 on the same day. It doesn't matter, right? It's just 2 Elite 8 teams.
Okay.
I already picked Purdue. I already picked Arkansas, though I wouldn't pick them in this round anyways.
Right.
The 4 teams I've picked so far, VCU, Purdue, Arkansas, and who was the one I took?
VCU, that was bold.
Yeah. No, and it almost was immediately out.
Only took a 19-point historic comeback, the largest comeback in the second half of any NCAA tournament game in the history of the tournament.
St. John's. I also took VCU, St. John's, Arkansas, and Purdue.
Okay.
Yeah. So I can't use Purdue. I could use Nebraska, Iowa, Illinois, or Houston, or Arizona.
Okay.
So I've settled on Arizona. They have the highest percentage chance to win, right? Their win probability is higher than anybody else. Nebraska, Iowa is basically a coin flip, and Houston, Illinois is a little bit better than a coin flip on the side of Houston.
Mm-hmm. I don't think you should. If you've already taken Purdue, which, by the way, wouldn't be shocked to see Texas beat them tonight.
Right.
I think Arizona's the pick tonight because Arkansas's dangerous. Like Acuff is unreal, and Malik Thomas, the other guard, is also really good and going to be a first-round NBA draft pick. But where Arkansas struggles is defending front court players, bigs, and Arizona's the best in the country. Mo Krivas, Koa Pete, those guys are going to go off.
Okay, so I'm not. Arizona is the pick because they're going to win. I'm pretty confident in that. And we'll break that game down and get into all the intricacies of it. My stress is from I think Arizona's going to win the national championship.
So you don't want to pick them too early.
Correct. But is it too early? It's a Sweet 16 for crying out loud.
No. I think all that stuff goes out the window. Just make your. Now, who's your pick going to be tomorrow?
I haven't gotten that, James. I've gotten to today.
Personally, I would take UConn.
Ooh.
Yeah, that'd be my pick.
Going against Izzo.
Yeah, Michigan State's really stagnant offensively, and coming into the tournament, teams that essentially, for lack of a better term, without all the data points in front of me, teams that are as bad as Michigan State is this year offensively, like, have never gone past the Sweet 16. And UConn's got dudes.
Yeah, no, that's true. I was thinking about Duke.
St. John scares me.
Michigan State is 22nd in Ken Palm offense. That's not good enough?
It's not just offensive rating. It was something else. I can't remember exactly. Might be field goal percentage. Might be lack of. I don't specifically, like I said, have the data in front of me.
Because UConn is 30th in Ken Palm offense.
I still like UConn.
I love just throwing out a stat. It's
very confident.
I heard a stat once that's like
very
Michigan State's not good enough.
Okay. I'm following a lot of Pool Genius type accounts on social media.
Okay.
I've got all the inside info.
Oh, well, thank you.
There's a reason I'm top 12 in our Big 12 Radio Bracket Challenge, okay?
Who is winning that, by the way?
It's only when I deviated from what the Pool Genius said to do.
Yeah.
Who's winning it? We've got Boog, I think, at the top, who's got Iowa State as their national champion winner. Then we've got a buddy I went to school with, actually, Jeremy Bone, who I worked with small market radio for many years. He's in the top 3. He has, I believe, Arizona winning it. And then my wife's cousin is currently tied for second. She also has Arizona.
So the top 3 is all your people?
2 of the 3. I don't know Boog. Probably John Shambi, but I'm not 100% sure who that might be. All right. Let me ask you a question. Are you ready?
Hold on.
It's a hypothetical. Yeah, you got to dial in.
No, I'm ready.
All right, he's ready. Tommy Lloyd's being tied to the North Carolina job, right? He addressed it. We're going to play that clip here in just a moment. So let's say hypothetically, SEC radio calls Ari Timken. They want you. More money. It's a pay raise. But also, even if you turn that job down, you're also getting a bump from Big 12 Radio because Big 12 Radio's thrilled with your coverage and want to keep you on board. The catch is you're moving to, let's say, Atlanta. You've never lived outside the Midwest, born and raised in Chicago, went to Kansas, lives in Dallas. So total culture shock. You're moving to Atlanta.
Lived in Austin, lived in San Antonio. I actually moved to Austin 16 years ago on the day.
Wow.
Because it's my niece's 16th birthday. We moved. This is the day she was born.
Getting all the photo memories.
That's right.
Bangers. All right, so SEC radio calls.
So I'm basically a Texan now. I've lived in Texas for 16 years, 3 different cities.
How dare you Midwest me.
Yeah.
All right, SEC radio calls you. You're getting a pretty nice raise.
No.
You're moving to Atlanta.
No.
And I bring this up because
I'm not moving to Atlanta.
Your wife and you and yourself, you guys have kids here. They're in school. You're very well established here in Texas. Your wife's family lives in the area. So there's a lot of factors that would go into that decision, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. I mean, it's an apples-to-apples comparison from a money standpoint, right? So, like, it would be like, well, if I'm going from what I'm making now to, like, millions, then yes, it's an easy move. But, I mean, we're also, like, is Arizona blue blood? I mean, if they're not, they're as close as it gets.
Right.
I mean, that's a program that's won national championships, that's got an incredible fan base that is, bought in, will travel, supports in a way that you just don't see for lots of basketball programs. I mean, you go across the country to, any Monday or Thursday night home basketball game, and the majority of environments are not great. You go to Allen Fieldhouse any night, and it's incredible. You go to McHale Center any night, it's incredible. Same is true with North Carolina. Same is true with Kentucky, right? There are some venues in college basketball that are just always lit, and then there are some that are like basically museums most nights. So, like, I think in the case of Lloyd, and even if the Kansas job opens up, I think the same thing will be true. Maybe it's a little bit of a better move, a step up, but I don't really know how to quantify that or characterize that. And you have everything you need at Arizona. Again, if you're Tommy Lloyd, like you've spent your entire career on the West Coast, it doesn't make any sense. And if you're Kansas or North Carolina, there are plenty of good options out there, right? I don't know. It's weird to me. And that has nothing to say about Tommy Lloyd as a coach. Like, I think he's an incredible coach. And,
absolutely.
If they win a national championship this year, it will only, solidify him in that way. But no, I don't know what would draw Tommy Lloyd to taking either of those jobs. This is a long way to say, like, I don't think he would leave for Kansas or for North Carolina. I don't know what the impetus would be. Now, in his comments, he doesn't say no. He simply says, I'm focused on the here and the now and on this team. I'm committed to this team. This team has a chance to go really far in the tournament. He actually said this team has a chance to advance tomorrow because he's never gotten out of the Sweet 16. Tommy Lloyd has never been out of the Sweet 16. 4 straight years in the Sweet 16, he's never won. 4 to 5 years he's been at Arizona, he's been in the Sweet 16, never gotten out. So I'm sure from his vantage point, he's like, I need to win this game.
Right.
And then I need to win another game. And then I'm in the clear. Although he wants to keep winning and win a national championship, but he's got to get to a Final Four. That is how Arizona coaches are judged. It's how Kansas coaches are judged. It's how North Carolina coaches are judged. It's the reason that Hubert Davis, despite having taken his team to a national championship in the first year he was there, is fired after 4 years or whatever it was, right? Because the expectations are so high. And Arizona's expectations right now are a Final Four at a minimum. You want to be, if you're Tommy Lloyd, at a place where that's the expectation.
Yeah, I think the bottom line is this isn't just a coaching decision, it's a life decision for Tommy Lloyd. And if Arizona loses tonight, that is the only way that I see the door being cracked open for him to be the next coach at North Carolina. Because if they lose, it's one more year that they couldn't get past the Sweet 16. And Arizona fans, to your point, have very high expectations for their program. But I don't even think this is that much of a better job for Tommy Lloyd. He can win a national championship at Arizona. He can deliver top 5 recruiting classes and multiple NBA lottery picks at Arizona. And then the life part. So his grandson, Luca, is in Tucson. His son, Liam, is on his coaching staff. His wife is settled. His daughter-in-law is settled. They are very much settled in Tucson, and he signed a deal through 2030. Like, I don't even think Tommy Lloyd's not on the market. The market came to him, and I can see North Carolina because of the prestige and the pedigree being of interest. But to me, he already has it too good at Arizona that I don't think he's going anywhere, unless maybe they lose tonight.
The only factor is, and look, I think if he left, like, his son would come with him, his grads, right, so they could reestablish themselves elsewhere. I'm sure location is important, but it's, to me, the only factor that matters here, and it's actually very much what T.J. Otzelberger said when he was interviewed about this yesterday, and he shut those down immediately, and that is, Otzelberger talked about the unity, the cohesion, the togetherness of himself, the chancellor, and Jamie Pollard, the athletic director. The only way I could see Lloyd looking at a North Carolina or a Kansas, if Bill Self were to step down, would be that he doesn't agree with or isn't in line with the direction of the administration, Desiree Reed-Francois. And I'm not saying that that's I'm simply saying, like, the only thing that I could think about would be a reason for why he would leave would be that. Mm-hmm. The importance of being aligned with your athletic director, with your school president. That is more important than anything else. Because you can win anywhere. In college basketball, Iowa State, T.J. Otzelberger can win at Iowa State, right? Like, there are teams being built with coaches that are really good that can win anywhere. You know, if you're about legacy and I want to be a part of a program like Kansas or North Carolina or, heck, Arizona, right? Like, maybe that matters. But I think there's nothing more important right now than alignment. And I'm not saying that he doesn't. I'm just simply saying that could be a reason that he might want to. For me, it's the only reason.
And there's no signs that there's any type of disconnect there.
Right.
They have the NIL support. Like, they're not landing guys like Koa Pete and Braden Burries without a bag, right? He's shown that you can win 30-plus games every year. You can be a one. Like, you can do everything that you could do at North Carolina right there at Arizona. And the family stuff, yeah, they could all uproot and go to Chapel Hill, but it's not just Tommy Lloyd making the decision. I think it's going to be a team effort. Let's hear what Tommy Lloyd said about these rumors when he was asked at the podium yesterday.
What I'll say, Seth, is I already have one of the best jobs in the country. And one thing we talk about in our program all the time, and I think I've gotten better at, and I think our team's been crushing it this year, is just the ability to have full focus and be present in the moment. And so I think we have a great team. I think we have a chance to advance in this tournament game by game, but I'm not delusional. I know we could lose tomorrow, but this team deserves my full focus. So there's not one thing that is going to knock me off my path. I'm 100% focused on Arizona basketball and this program, and I can't wait till the ball gets thrown up tomorrow, and then can't wait to try to figure out a way to come out on top.
And he's not the only Big 12 coach that's being rumored for this North Carolina opening. Iowa State's TJ Otzelberger was also asked about the position and his name being tied to that job.
First, I'd just like to start by saying any speculation with me and any other jobs or opportunities is not true. The coach of the Cyclones, thrilled to be the coach of the Cyclones, and what I can say to you even more as we move forward together is the alignment on our campus with Dr. Cook, Jamie Pollard, is amazing, and we're thrilled and excited about our future together. So really appreciative and grateful to Jamie Pollard and David Cook and conversations we've had, and so just excited about our future.
There you have it. Iowa State's TJ Otzelberger shutting down any speculation about him leaving Ames for the North Carolina job.
Two completely different answers.
Which did you like better?
Well, if I'm an Iowa State or an Arizona fan, I like Otzelberger's answer better because he said what I was alluding to, which is the only reason that Lloyd might leave would be a lack of alignment with, again, with Desiree Reed-Francois or the school president, right? And again, not saying that that's the case, simply saying that could be a reason. But I love Tommy Lloyd's answer here. And so the question's asked by Seth Davis, who's got some cachet to ask the question. And, for me, the answer was so telling from the standpoint of, like, he's in that foxhole right now, and he is, like, clickers going, it's late at night. He wants to win this game so badly. And that's hard to do for somebody that's not playing in the game. So he's doing everything he possibly can in order to ensure that they win this game. Because Tommy Lloyd knows that he hasn't been out of the Sweet 16. He knows that label on him. He knows that as much success as he's had, nobody in their first 5 years in a program has won more games than Tommy Lloyd has. He's done everything he could possibly do except win in this round and get to a Final Four. It's similar to Bill Self. Bill Self, the knock on him at Illinois and then at Kansas was early on was he can't get out of the Elite Eight.
Right.
Can't get out of the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
And amazingly, it took beating Steph Curry and Davidson, the baby-faced killer, the story of the NCAA tournament, to do it. And he dropped to his knees and he dropped to the ground because he had finally done it. And amazingly, Kansas's defense in the final play where they're up 2 got the ball out of Steph Curry's hands. Imagine if they didn't.
And then he went on to win 2 more national championships.
And go to 3 more Final Fours.
Yeah. He got over the hump and the rest. All right, real quick before the break. Who's the next coach at North Carolina? Make your pick.
Billy Donovan?
Okay. Billy Donovan. Next coach at North Carolina. I'm going Ben McCullum.
That's a good one.
Iowa. All right, coming up next, we dive into these Sweet 16 games. Arizona and Arkansas. Houston, Illinois, the 2 games tonight. Keys to victory for both teams. We'll hear from the coaches. After the break, he's Ari, I'm James. We are powered by Modelo. It's a 3 Things Tournament Thursday here on Big 12 Radio, and you're watching us on Big 12 Studios.
The focus needs to be on the players and on their great play on the court, so I support the Big 12's decision 100%.
Underway, and it is Arizona with the first possession. This Iowa State team 27-6 on the season, 12-6 in league play. They finished in a 3-way tie for third, but because the tiebreakers fell down to the 5 seed.
Is what makes him so incredibly valuable, and that's one of the biggest reasons he's Big 12 Player of the Year.
2-man game, Lipsy and Buchanan. Rebound, Lipsy. Momcilovic for 3. They are extremely talented, and this guy is one of the reasons why. Tobe Awaka came up with a rebound, couldn't finish, got it back again. And Del Orso knocks down his second 3 of the night. Pete averages almost 3 assists per game. Deflected by Del Orso. He's got it back. A little Euro step, and it rolls in for him. What a sequence, Jay, here in the closing seconds of the first half.
2 huge threes in transition by Momcilovic.
He's going to try one more. Got it! Oh!
Tobe Awaka down on the baseline with Krivas. They can duck in hard.
Bradley can't shake Torrey. Forces it up and hits. Finds Buchanan. 10 to shoot. Buchanan looking for somebody to give it to. Finds Lipsy. 5 to shoot. Tie game!
Remember, it's not just the first shot. It's the offensive rebound.
Bradley trying to do it himself. He does! He hit it!
Back here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, powered by Modelo. It is a Sweet 16 Thursday edition here of Big 12 Today. He's Ari, I'm James. Arizona and Arkansas tonight from San Jose. It's at 9:45 Eastern Time, 8:45 Central on CBS. The 1 seed Arizona 34-2 against the 4 seed Arkansas, 28-8 on the season. It's a rematch of the 1994 Final Four matchup, a game that Arkansas won as they went on to win the national championship. This game could be really exciting from a fast break points angle. Both teams rank in the top 20 nationally in fast break points. Arizona top 20. Arkansas, meanwhile, second nationally in fast break points. They average over 19 points in transition on the season. So Arkansas really wants to speed this game up. They want to run. They have a couple of injuries on their front line. So the Brazil kid, he is questionable. Pringle is questionable. I expect both to play, but the bottom line is they're banged up, which is really good for Arizona, who Arizona can run, and I think they're going to be okay with that. But Arizona should have a field day on the inside in the half court.
Yeah, and going back to what we talked about, like this is the game that Arizona and Arizona fans have been waiting for, because Lloyd has gone 3 straight years now to the Sweet 16, 4-5. They've lost in this spot each time in those 4 spots, including Houston, Clemson, and Duke, with each loss by an average of 8 points. Clemson and Duke the last 2 years. Arizona as a program has reached the Sweet 16 22 times, 10th most in Division I. They've gone to the Elite Eight 11 times. The most recent, though, was in 2015. They actually went back-to-back under Sean Miller to the Elite Eight in 2014 and 2015. But it's been the Final Four that's been elusive for them, basically, after Lute Olson. Lute Olson was the coach that led them to a national championship and to Final Fours, but they've not been back since. The Elite Eight twice in a row under Sean Miller, 2014, 2015, and now Sweet 16 again. So this round, this weekend has been the tough spot for Arizona basically since the 90s. Arizona led the Big 12 and ranked 20th nationally, averaging 15 fast break points per game, but was just held to 2 by Utah State in the second round.
Yeah.
And then you mentioned this. Our Arkansas is one of the best, if not the best in the nation at getting on fast break, averaging 19 points a game in that area. But, yeah, I'm with you. The advantage here is the front court. Arizona's front line should be able to demolish Arkansas. The only way that Arkansas could win this game is turning Arizona over, getting into transition, getting fast break points. That's how they've done it all year. The problem with that is Arizona's front line's really good, so is their backcourt. And, yeah, you've got a freshman in Braden Burries, who the moment has never looked too big for him, but they also have an experienced Big 12 Player of the Year at handling the ball at Jaden Bradley. Mm-hmm. So tough sledding for them. Trayvon Brazil, though, is a guy to watch for. He almost single-handedly won the SEC championship for them down the stretch of that game. He's 6'10". He's active, but he can step out and shoot. And we've seen teams with bigs pull Krivas away from the bucket, and Krivas can still handle you on the perimeter. So, but Brazil's a guy to certainly watch out for.
Yeah, he's a freak.
Yeah.
Like, he is 6'10", he's bouncy, has a 40-inch vertical. This line opened at 9.5. It has shrunk to 7.5. The sharp money is all over Arkansas because Coach Cal is 9-3 in the tournament as an underdog against the spread. But that's still a pretty big window for Arizona to win the game, even if they don't necessarily cover. Here's what head coach Tommy Lloyd, Arizona coach, said about John Calipari.
Well, yeah, we would play these mid-season, conference season battles between Gonzaga and Memphis back in the day, and they were epic battles. And a vivid memory I have is when he had that thing rolling at Memphis, is Derrick Rose coming down on a fast break, and I've never seen anybody so fast with the ball in their hands in my life. And just, what's so cool about Coach Cal is, everyone has different styles. How he's, with his swag and his personality, been able to manage so many, uber talents over the years has been really, really impressive to watch. Because at the end of the day, let's face it, if you want to be, trying to win the whole thing here, you've got to have really talented players. And Coach Cal has done as good a job as anybody maybe in the history of the game at managing talented players.
Arizona and Arkansas tonight. Arkansas has no interest in playing defense. They give up almost 81 points per game. Arizona's 25-0. Meanwhile, when they score 79 or more, but this is a game to me that's going to be in the mid to upper 80s. I think it's going to be really fast-paced, really fun to watch.
Yeah, a couple of notes from Action Network that are really interesting. This ties the largest underdog point spread for John Calipari in an NCAA tournament game.
Wow.
He was plus 7.5 with UMass in the 1996 semifinal, and that number is at 7.5. Calipari has been listed as an underdog in the tournament 13 times, is 9-3-1 against the spread as an underdog, going 7-0-1 against the spread while at Arkansas and Kentucky, and 7-1 against the spread as a dog of 4 points or more in the dance. So, now again, that's against the spread, meaning this game might be closer than a lot of people think, which is why the Sharps have bet this thing down from 9.5 to 7.5. To your point, like, they know where Calipari is as an underdog in this tournament, and understand that betting on him to at least cover is worth the money, and I would agree with that.
I think a game tonight that's going to be worth every penny is Houston and Illinois. The Toyota Center in Houston starts at 10:05 p.m.
Real quick,
Eastern Time. Go ahead.
One more note on Arkansas, Arizona. I think one of the things that's maybe different about Cal at Arkansas than at Kentucky is he's not just cycling through a bunch of one-and-dones. He's got experienced players like Brazil, Knox, Richmond, and DJ Wagner were all in last year's squad. This isn't, again, like something we saw a lot with him at Kentucky. It was a constant churn of rosters with lots of talent, and now he's got a little bit more juice with, like, returning players, which I think is really important. It's something he did at Memphis, but probably didn't do as much at Kentucky.
Totally. Brazil's been there forever.
And by the way, Calipari and Eddie Sutton now the only coaches in NCAA history to lead 4 different programs to the Sweet 16.
All right, Houston ranks number 4 in KenPom. Illinois is number 6 in KenPom nationally. That's overall, offensive, defensive. That's their net rating. So you've got 2 of the 6 best teams left in the entire field meeting in the Sweet 16, maybe earlier than anybody expected. This could be one of the better games of the entire tournament when you look at this matchup.
Yeah, well, and these are 2 teams that are very similar. They're both elite rebounding teams. And I mean, I think, once again, rebounding is going to be critical in this game. Illinois is 3rd nationally in offensive rebounding rate. 39.2% of all shots on the offensive end are offensive rebounded by them. Houston is 35th nationally with 12.8 offensive rebounds per game. So it's a strength on both sides. Second chance points will go a long way in deciding the outcome here. Houston is 14th best in the nation at forcing turnovers, and Illinois is 9th best in the country at turnover rate. So Illinois doesn't turn the ball over. Houston turns teams over. So it's strength on strength. The one that's most interesting to me, though, is the pace. Illinois is 276th in adjusted tempo. Houston is 351st, right? Not a surprise to us.
Right.
There's not going to be a lot of possessions in this game. This is going to be a slow. I mean, Arkansas wants to speed Arizona up and get going in the front court, and Arizona plays at a faster pace. Houston, Illinois want to slow this game down and minimize possessions. I don't know who that favors. It feels like it favors Illinois because they have the better offense. In a game where offensive precision is going to matter more because of less possessions, that could be a factor in this one.
Yeah, my biggest takeaway previewing this game is I did not realize how similar these teams are.
Yeah,
I saw Illinois as very much an up-tempo, fast-paced, we shoot a bunch of threes, and they are not built that way.
Right.
Houston is 8th in the country. It's going to be a shot volume war, and how they get there, to your point, will be turnovers and the offensive glass. Houston has taken 320 more shots than their opponent on the season. That's 8th in the country.
Wow.
Illinois is 9th. Houston dominated Texas A&M on the glass, out-rebounded them 46-29. Illinois pounded VCU on the glass, out-rebounded them 45-29. Very similar rebounding margins. Here's what Kelvin Sampson, the Houston coach, said about just how challenging Illinois could be.
There are certain teams that, you scout them for the first time. Like, I haven't seen Illinois play much this year at all. But in scouting them, just watching them for the first time, I found myself being a fan. Just enjoyed watching it. But then I go, whoa, how do you guard it? So it's unbelievable challenge to try to get ready for them. But they're really fun to watch. They've got super smart players. They got a great plan. They're really skilled. They all make threes. They've got some excellent three-point shooters, but at the very worst, are all good three-point shooters. So it's and they play at a great space. But I think the most important thing that they do that separates them is the offensive rebounding. We're a good offensive rebounding team, but Illinois is a better offensive rebounding team than we are. They do it better than we do. Now, I've had other teams that were better than this team, but Illinois is probably one of the top 3 or 4 offensive rebound teams in America, whereas we're probably more top 25 or something like that. But that's one of the reasons why their efficiency is so high, is they have the ability to beat you with their first shot, and they can beat you with their second or third, and that's why they're the ultimate challenge.
Love Kelvin Sampson trying to play down how dominant Houston is on the offensive glass. We're probably top 25 nationally in offensive rebounding. We'll have to fact check that because I think Houston's a very good offensive rebounding team.
Well, so, I mean, in terms of their offensive rebounds per game, they're 35th with 12.8. I don't know what their offensive rebounding rate is, but, he's not wrong. Like, they've had better offensive rebounding teams than Houston. I think last year's team was a better offensive rebounding team. It doesn't matter. To me, that doesn't matter as much as rebounding in general. Mm-hmm. If Illinois is really good at offensive rebounding, that means Houston needs to be really good at defensive rebounding.
Right.
And Houston is a good rebounding team. Kelvin Sampson is an elite coach of defense, like rebounding, defense, don't turn the ball over. Three things I know about Kelvin Sampson's teams. Like, they're going to do those 3 things really well. And this year's no different. Maybe some years they're going to be better at other things than others, but every year they're going to be really good at those 3 things. What's interesting is, so Brad Underwood has underperformed in the tournament. He's only made the Elite 8. It's their 6th straight trip to the NCAA tournament, but just their 2nd time making it to the second weekend. Last time they went to the second weekend, they made it to the Elite 8 in 2024. And then, the big number is, most teams that make the Final Four, more than half of the teams that make the Final Four, basically since the last 25 years, have been top 25 in both adjusted offense and defense per Ken Palm. Houston and Arizona both are in that list. Illinois is top 10 in offense, but outside the top 25 in defense. So.
But they're close, and they are really good offensively. Now, Kelvin Sampson's right about the offensive rebounding in terms of rate. His teams the last 4 years have finished second, third, and fourth in offensive rebounding rate, but this year's team is 11. They rebound 36.7% of their misses on the offensive glass.
And again, going back, it's 38.9 for Illinois. Sorry, 39.2.
So, wow, both teams are dominant on the offensive glass. Now, the line has moved.
Which is why defensive rebounding is so important in this game.
Right. Illinois coach Brad Underwood, he was asked about having to play Houston in Houston. That's moved the line about a point or 2. It's up to 4.5 in favor of Houston, basically playing in their own backyard, and I love what his response was.
I've been asked that before, and I'll be honest, I could care less. And I'm gonna sound really kind of selfish here. I'm an old JUCO ball coach. I drove on 16 passenger vans. I drove from Dodge City, Kansas to Mesa, Arizona for a basketball game, for a tournament in a bus. You had told me back then that I'm getting to coach basketball in the Sweet 16 and play Houston. I would sign up for it. I would crawl to get there. If we want to beat them, no matter where we play them, we'd have to play great. Guess what? We're going to have to do that tomorrow. And I think they're going to have to play well if they want a chance to beat us. And so we've won on the road. We've been pretty successful doing that in the Big Ten. So I don't pay too much attention to it. I'm just grateful for the opportunity, and playing Houston's a challenge enough. It doesn't matter where.
Yeah, Brad Underwood didn't make it big until he was in his mid-40s. Like he was in his 40s coaching at Daytona Beach Community College, and before that he was at Western Illinois, and before that He was at Dodge City Community College in southwest Kansas, which is what he referenced there. Like, he understands all the work that he's put in to get to this point. I just loved the way he approached that question.
Yeah, and Oklahoma State is still looking for the right head coach since Brad Underwood spent 45 seconds at Oklahoma State and left for Illinois. And, Mike Boynton, his assistant, took over. Yeah, I mean, it's – for me, I just don't see Houston losing this game. I know it seems like a coin flip, and I see the ways in which Illinois could win it. But it just feels like Houston has more depth. Illinois may be better in their front court. Houston has more depth and I think more ways to beat you.
We'll find out tonight, 10:05 p.m. Eastern Time, Houston and Illinois in the Sweet 16. All right, coming up next.
Are we going to watch it together?
TBD on that.
You keep saying that. It's we're getting closer to tip-off here.
Coming up next, it's going to be our Modelo spring road trip touring Big 12 country. We're talking college football, and today the team that we highlight is Arizona State. We'll be talking with head coach Kenny Dillingham here in about 15 minutes, but we'll preview the upcoming season for the Arizona State Sun Devils. Spring practice is underway. This is Big 12 Radio, brought to you by Modelo.
Houston in white, Kansas in blue. Kim Kissinger, Tony Padilla, Brooks Wells, our officials tonight. And we're underway. It'll be the Cougars to open it up.
Manuel Sharp is all defensive team as well. He's an underrated defender. He's talking about his scoring all the time, but he can guard.
Turnaround, Sanak. Great rebound by Tugler. Fleming's the penetration. The feed to Sanak for the flush.
JoJo Tugler is a big-time defensive player with those long arms, and he has a live body.
And Kingston Flemings was backpedaling before that ball went through.
They're physical. Their help is there. They will trap ball screens and exchanges and trap the post.
Sanak for three. Sanak and Tiller, a great matchup of two guys at the power forward spot. Both freshmen, both extremely talented, as is that guy. Peterson's got all five for the Jayhawks.
Now, this is an important steal.
Peterson will slam it. Fleming's letting that shot clock wind down. Now he drives them, and he beat him to the glass.
Boy, how beautiful was that?
Fleming. Sacco trying to gather it. Tips it to Sharp. Flemings is open. How about that?
Well, you talk about an unscripted play. This has been a clinic.
Council into Bedunga, and it will eventually go in, and that is the first made field goal of the second half for the Kansas Jayhawks. Here, they'll be trying to repeat what a game it should be tomorrow night, 6 Eastern, right here on ESPN.
Big 12 today powered by Modelo on a Three Things Thursday, part of our Modelo Spring Road Trip Series, previewing all 16 Big 12 football programs. Today we head down to Tempe, Arizona, Arizona State, 2026 season preview. One thing we know, they're going to look much different this season. They go 8-4 last year, dropped the bowl game to finish 8-5, plagued by a boatload of injuries. They've brought in over 20 new players who are expected to be immediate impact guys. Thought this was interesting. So their portal class was ranked number 12 nationally by ESPN. But when you remove the portal classes that involve new head coaches that basically just brought their entire roster with them, like Matt Campbell at Penn State, Eric Morris at Oklahoma State, Arizona State jumps to number 7 nationally.
Wow.
They had a very nice offseason haul.
Well, and they needed to. Because of all of the losses they've had, both in the portal and to the NFL draft. You got to start at quarterback. I think that's the headline in terms of what this team has. And Arizona State has already started spring practice. So, we started doing this spring caravan series before any of the spring practices had started. And now that we're in spring practice, we have a little bit of information. So, like, opening day of spring practice, Cutter Boley was the starter, ran the first team offense, and showed off, a really good arm. Impressive throws. He did throw a pick 6 to new linebacker Owen Long, who we'll get to on 7-on-7 drills, and then he bounced back immediately, hitting Raiden Vines Bright deep down the right sideline for a score. But he's competing with Mikey Keene. Keene's brought in from Michigan, did not play at all at Michigan, but is a guy that played previously for Fresno State. It's almost
really good there, by the way.
Almost like Ellen Bowman, where he goes to Michigan for 1 year and then transfers to a Big 12 school, and he doesn't play at Michigan, but had a career playing previously.
And I guess him and Kenny Dillingham go way back. Like, Dillingham recruited him out of high school, so they've known each other for 5 years.
So, I mean, I think in terms of just paying attention this spring to how, the reps are split up will be huge, because I don't think it's Cutter Boley's job entirely. I think, Mikey Keene certainly got something to say about it. I'm also very intrigued by the offensive line. I think, like, what they did in the portal, like, they've got some pretty big-time players. O'Marion Miller, we'll get to him, the wide receiver from Colorado. Lyric Rawls, who's a 3-time Big 12 player now, transferred from Oklahoma State to Kansas, now to Arizona State. Owen Long, linebacker for Colorado State, led the nation in tackles last year, had a pick 6 already in spring practice. So, I think there are a lot of big-time players to talk about, but, like, the offensive line, to me, is the biggest interesting question mark about this team. Talent was added. I mean, it's basically 5 new guys.
Yeah. They lose all 5 starters on the offensive line from last year's team. They also lose their 1,200-yard running back in Raleek Brown, who was first-team All-Big 12. He's out the door. Then you also lose Jordan Tyson. You lose Sam Levitt. Now, the Levitt loss probably isn't as prevalent as it would be had he played all year. I mean, Jeff Sims had a career day in the bowl game, had 400 yards and 5 touchdowns, just insane numbers. But Boley, I do think, is the front runner when it comes to that position. The number that matters most to me is Arizona State's turnovers jumped from 2024 to 2025 and almost doubled, like less than 1 turnover per game in 24. Last year they averaged 1.6 per game. Dillingham is calling for a more controlled, quick passing game, and they've got the wideouts to do it. That's probably the strength of this portal class. So Marion Miller from Colorado, the number 2 ranked wide receiver in the entire portal transfer cycle. He had a higher portal grade than when Jordan Tyson arrived from Colorado. And then Reed Harris from Boston College is supposed to be a first-round future NFL draft pick, 6'5", 220, had 700 yards receiving in a Boston College offense that struggled passing. The number 4 ranked wide receiver in the portal, and then Long, the linebacker from Colorado State. Those are kind of the big 3 for me. Like, Long led the nation in tackles. He is a beast.
Well, I'm glad you highlighted Reed Harris, because there's obviously so much attention around O'Marion Miller. And by the way, if you're O'Marion Miller, you go from Deion Sanders to Hines Ward. How about that? Not a bad transition. 2 Hall of Fame guys that you're coaching you. And then, Reed Harris, 6'5", big-time player. And we know that Hines Ward gets receivers to buy into blocking. I love the idea of playing the perimeter, short passing games, get the ball out quickly. The other thing is Cutter Boley if he does become the starter, he had 12 interceptions last year. Like, that's his issue. So when you talk about turnovers, you talk about a new offensive line, quick strike passing game, maybe a little bit different than what they had been doing, but makes a ton of sense based on the personnel that they have. I love Dillingham's one of my favorites, and you're not going to want to miss this interview we have with Kenny because he's amazing. He's awesome. He's great. And a fun interview, and lots of great stuff. There's lots of great takeaways. Like, he takes you inside what they're looking at the quarterback position when they're recruiting that. But I like the thing that he does well, better than anybody, is like, who are my people, who are my personnel? Now let's adjust our schemes to fit the personnel.
They're always elite on the back end, and they loaded up once again in the secondary, bringing in transfers from LSU. They also bring in a cornerback from Texas. Chance Rucker is a safety from Michigan State who was a full-time starter for them. But Dillingham has said early on in spring practice that this is his biggest team. It's his longest team. And you know what he says about big people push around little people. He wants to be the biggest, fastest, strongest team on the field. We'll be talking with Kenny Dillingham here in about 15 minutes. But this is what he said about looking for growth from last year to this year.
Yeah, I thought there was good energy. Like I told him, I don't know if I watched today, and I said, man, this group just loves contact. I didn't watch today and say, man, they don't like to hit. But I don't know if I watched today and was like, holy cow, that is a violent team. And that's kind of what I told my practices. If we want to be a team that's violent and physical, right, we got to be able to see it in practice. And we had physicality, but you couldn't feel it. You couldn't feel that physicality today. And they want to pass, we got to get better.
Wants to be the most physical football team on the field, which is kind of, when I think about Arizona State the last 2 years, that's what stands out. They are an extremely violent football team.
Yeah, and look, physicality works. And, I think at the end of the day, one of the things that's most important that we need to be looking at with all these teams is who has the best running game, right? He who's most physical, who controls the line of scrimmage, will also have a good running game. And we know that, like, whoever has the best running back game in the Big 12 is going to be the Big 12 champs. And if it's not the best running game, it's the second best running game. It's just that simple.
Running back, I think they'll be fine. They brought in some transfers there. They also had, was it Kyson Brown? His name is escaping me. The kid that was the backup last year and averaged like 7 yards a carry. He just didn't get a ton of touches.
It was Kyson and Raleek Brown. That's why it's confusing because it's two Browns. But, yeah, it's Kyson Brown this year.
Kyson Brown, Raleek Brown, the offensive line.
But the funny part is there's another Brown, Jason Brown.
Well,
Raleek is gone. Jason Brown and Kyson. So they basically had one Brown comes in, one Brown goes out.
So if you're watching Arizona State, Raleek Brown is not on the field.
And Jason Brown was the Sun Belt standout. He's a redshirt freshman, 4-star recruit. He's a potential breakout candidate. They also have Demarius Man Robinson.
All-name team, let's go.
Man, come on.
Where was Jason Brown last year?
At Arizona State.
Oh, he was, okay.
Yeah, Sun Bowl. He played in the Sun Bowl and was phenomenal.
Sun Bowl. I thought you said Sun Belt.
Got it. Yep, no, Sun Bowl.
Belt. All right, the offensive line. So the first-team offensive line so far in spring practice has been kind of a mixture of guys that were at Arizona State last year versus incoming transfers. So their center is a transfer from Georgia Tech, played in 23 games the last 2 seasons for Georgia Tech. But, like, you look at the left side, Jalen Clem is a returner. He was a backup kind of swing tackle last year. Then Mekhi Stewart is a true freshman who is a top 50 prospect in the 2025 recruiting class, but he hasn't played a college snap yet. And then they have a true freshman at right guard, and at right tackle, they bring in a junior, a JUCO transfer from Garden City Community College, who committed this most recent cycle. Like, it's kind of a mixed bag on that offensive line, and I don't know that this will be the 5 that they roll out on opening day.
Yeah, no, I mean, to me, that's the biggest question mark about this team. We talk about physicality, we talk about running game. It's all dependent upon their ability to protect up front, and they've had some really good offensive lines. I mean, we've seen NFL draft picks come out of this offensive line, and so I think solidifying it, having the pick of the right 5, is, if Arizona State is going to compete towards the top half of the Big 12, it's going to be because of their offensive line.
All right, coming up next on Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. This next hour, all guests will be talking with Arizona State football coach Kenny Dillingham after this timeout. And then Ryan Shumpert joins us, the Tennessee beat writer for Rocky Top Insider, to break down Iowa State and Tennessee to get the opponent angle and what they do well. But after the break, it is Kenny Dillingham. We are brought to you by Modelo. You're listening to us exclusively on TuneIn and watching us on Big 12 Studios.
Arizona won it by 7. Just under a month ago, we are underway with a trophy on the line here tonight. And he'd love to add another one here in this game.
And Arizona would like to get Braden Burries going early.
He'll pick up an assist as Bradley knocks down a 3.
Really good.
13th in the AP poll in the week before the season began, as Pete lays it in, but they were in the top 5. Into Pete, who's had a terrific night. Left hand up and good.
Gave a look to the high-low, the dump down, and then pivoted. And especially the big guys stepping up in screening situations has been really effective for Arizona.
Some room for Sharp. A big shot for the Cougars. Fleming's on the bench right now. Miller out there for the backcourt with Uzan and Sharp. Tugler tries again and one.
Beautiful pocket pass.
10-0 run, Houston. Arizona's got foul trouble, and they've gone cold. Miller driving, dumps it off. Laid in by Tugler. Shot clock at 7. Burries. He's going to have to put a shot up, and he banks it home. Back comes Flemings. Uzan. Hit it! And it's a 3-point game. That will do it. The regular season champs are the tournament champs here in Kansas City.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio. You're watching us on Big 12 Studios, part of our Modelo Spring Road Trip. Touring Big 12 country takes us to Tempe, Arizona to highlight Arizona State. We're joined now by Coach Kenny Dillingham. Good morning, Coach.
How y'all doing?
Man, we are pumped up about Arizona State football. I know you guys have already started spring practices. We talked with Michelle the other day. So what are, 2 or 3 things that you can tell us about how things are going and that you really are making a point of emphasis this early in the spring?
Yeah, obviously the 45 new guys. So just the culture, we're trying to, instill toughness. So that's going to be something that we harp on all spring ball, is the physicality and then mental toughness to respond to adversity, one of the biggest moments. And then the second piece would be turnovers. 2 years ago, we were one of the best teams in the country in creating takeaways and not turning the ball over. And last year, we were one of the worst teams in the country in those categories. And, those are the differences in years is those takeaways.
I mean, that's one of those stats that we've talked about in terms of, being more associated with luck, and those tend to even out year over year. Are you a believer in that, or you think there are things you can coach in order to coax more turnovers?
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's luck in every sport to an extent, but you create your own luck too. Everybody's heard that saying. And running to the football, being around the ball helps you recover the ball, right? Having the fundamental that the second guy in on a tackle is punching for the football, right? That is a fundamental. On offense, building a habit to cross on contact is a fundamental. Building a habit that when you're falling to the ground, you get your elbow tight is a fundamental. So, yeah, is there some luck involved? Yeah, there's luck involved in everything, right? But there's also a lot of preparation that can go into creating takeaways and preventing takeaways. And that's what we're really hammering in.
So you've done this before with the roster turnover. And last year's team, you had a veteran-led team that was just decimated by injuries. This year, this time around, what are some of the core principles of getting everybody on the same page and having that team chemistry that your teams are known for with so many new guys?
Yeah, I think there's really not a magical potion to it. Just be a good person, make good decisions, and have a lot of fun showing up every day and competing. So the one thing I do believe in is I think competition grows relationships. I think when you're competing versus people in competitive environments, you get to know people more, and then we try to create a culture that you can be yourself. You don't have to, become, somebody else when you're here. So that also, I think, gets people to get to know each other on a deeper level faster, is because they're not just learning about what a kid does or what his personality is off the field or out of the building. You're really getting to understand and get to know guys when they're in the building, because we want them to be themselves. Mike Vrabel said it best. I'm going to paraphrase what he said. We want you to be yourself and be your own personality, but we all have to have the same mindset. And I think that really connects and resonates with me.
What do we need to know about Cutter Boley?
Obviously, he had a really good year last year. 65% completion percentage last year in the SEC. Process as well. Can throw the ball. Big, strong kid. Athletic.
One of the things that you've had in your career is success with the quarterback position, and certainly in developing them. So, one, what are the things you're looking for from a characteristics standpoint? And then two, obviously you've got to coach people differently based on personality. So what are the differences that it takes to coach quarterbacks the right way?
Yeah, I think one, you have to have a system that you believe in. And there's so many ways to be successful. Your system can be as free as possible, right? And hey, we're throwing to space. It's all we do. We throw to space. The other one could be you're going to take your 7th step from under center and you're going to throw that ball at the same time every time. And if it's not there, you're going to reset to a comeback. And another could be we want to locate people and we're going to isolate one player on every play, right? There's so many ways to be successful. I think you as an offense have to know yourself, and you don't want to mix and match too many philosophies. You want to say, this is who we are. This is how we want you to process the game. And then you have to recruit to kids that are similar in terms of how they play or how they process with that. So I think it's a bigger approach than just, a kid shows up and, magically becomes a guy. I think the evaluation piece of we signed really good players. I've had really good players, coached really good players.
And those really good players were so dialed into the mental side of the game that we could put a lot on them. And our system's going to put a ton on the quarterback mentally to where he can pretty much have as much freedom as he can take. And the more that quarterback can take, the better he feels in the field because he can check plays, change plays, get out of plays. So he's always comfortable. So I'd say what do we look for is just that guy who wants control. That guy who's somewhat of a control freak at quarterback and wants to, I say have the pin last. That quarterback wants to have the pin last as if we were playing on a whiteboard, and then is going to put in the work so where he knows what to call to get the pin last. So that's really what we look for.
Man, that's awesome. Talking with Arizona State football coach Kenny Dillingham here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio and watching on Big 12 Studios. So, Kenny, if you were to put like a letter grade on last season, you guys, we thought with how many injuries you had, just totally decimated by injuries, to win 8 games was a miracle. But how would you summarize and what letter grade would you give Arizona State football last year?
Hard to give a letter grade with it just really is. Like, I hate losing. I felt like we lost a game. I'm not going to go into which one that we should have won last year, like where we took the field, and I felt like our team was better than their team, and we lost. And that just, I can't sleep. Like, it's one thing when you lose a game and you're like, man, this team's really good that we're facing, and you make some mistakes and you don't want to make those mistakes and you go and correct them. But it's another thing when you lose a game that you really feel like you should win. And that was the first time in my career here that I really felt that. So for me, not as good as I want. I don't know if there's a letter grade. There were moments where we played unbelievable. I mean, going on the road at Iowa State, unbelievable. Beating Texas Tech at home. I mean, those were unbelievable games, and there were moments that were letdowns. And obviously towards the back end of the year, we kind of got, some injuries, but that's no excuse. So I don't want to give a letter grade. Not what we hoped, not what we expected, not what we expect. But I was definitely proud of how those guys continued to play throughout the season.
Is 8-5 a successful season?
I think it depends on the year. I mean, hopefully it becomes not a successful season. Hopefully that becomes, a minimum standard. But every season has its own unique challenges. When I don't really rule successful seasons as, for me, the measuring stick is not how many games did we win. It's did we play up to our potential and did we overachieve. At the end of the day, I think every coach's job should be to overachieve. Because if you're not overachieving, you as a coach, you as a staff, you're just average.
Right, what are we doing?
And you don't ask for average out of your players. So, like, for us, the expectation is we overachieve as a football team. So I don't know is that 4 wins one year? Is that 8 wins? Is that 12 wins? I don't know. But I can usually get a feel for what overachieving looks like. And that's always our goal is we want to overachieve.
With the transfer portal additions, we hit on Boley. You bring in a couple of stud receivers and Reed Harris from Boston College, Omarion Miller from Colorado. Then you bring in the nation's leading tackler last year, Owen Long from Colorado State on defense. Did you feel like collectively you guys hit on most of your top targets in the portal?
Yeah, I feel good about our guys going through spring ball. Lyric Rolls is another guy. He led the team in tackles last year, and he's been phenomenal for us the first few days of spring. So I think there's a bunch of guys that we brought in. We try to bring in a lot of production, which is everybody in the country. It's not like I'm saying anything revolutionary, right? But we did try to bring in a lot of production and guys who have done it at this level, or not even at this level, but just in college football and produced in college football. And I think a lot of those guys early in camp have shown up as there's a reason they were good in college football. They're good in practice. So I've been fairly pleased with the squad so far.
Yeah, and look, I think there's probably 2 schools of thought, and there's probably more than that, but there's like the former 4 or 5 star that maybe didn't catch on with one school and doesn't have the production, and then there's the other side, which is maybe a kid from Colorado State who leads the country in tackles, but he's at Colorado State. Will that translate? And even if it's Colorado State or if it's FCS school or it feels like we've seen a lot of success stories within there of guys that produce at that level are going to produce at this level too.
100%. I mean, football is football. Instincts are instincts. A lot of the thing that separates somebody from being a 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, 2-star, whatever that is just measurables, right? Sometimes you're too short. Sometimes you're not fast enough. Those are a lot of times the difference makers in star rankings. However, instincts can cover that up, and your mentality of you as a person can cover those things up. So when you see these guys play at other levels, and you're like, okay, he's probably not as fast as we would like, but holy cow, like he plays faster than he probably is. And that's because he's an instinctful football player. And at the end of the day, the goal is to be fast in live settings, not to be fast on a track. So for us, we're really trying. That's why we love, we enjoy being able to watch guys play college football and then determine which guys that we like in this new era, because we get to see them play at real speeds and process at real speeds, process people play counter and how quickly do they recognize it, process free safeties, play different post climb or post dig or grab dig on 3rd and 7. Like, we get to look at certain situations and really be like, okay, this guy, he's instinctive. He plays the game with an edge, and we can't really see it unless you watch certain things.
Did you retain most of your staff from last year? Do you guys have everybody back? Like, how's your continuity been in terms of your staff?
Yeah, I mean, luckily for us, this will be going into our 3rd straight year where we haven't had a coach take another job.
Oh, nice.
A full-time coach, right? Contrary, we've had multiple guys that are, assistant position coaches take jobs, which is my goal. My goal is to get all those guys jobs, which they have. But we haven't lost a full-time coach for us. One of the 10 have not left for another job. This is going on year 3 now of that. So we do have really good continuity. We've also added to our staff, and we've kind of shifted some things around defensively with that, and we've added some coaches to our staff and moved our defense coordinator into a float position to where he can oversee everything. So we've definitely made some changes, but in a positive way. We've only added. Nobody's really wanted to leave here.
The one thing I heard you talking about this offseason that has me really excited, like I need to get up to Tempe for a game, is the indoor tailgating with this potential new practice facility. So for people that didn't catch your interview on it, one, like what's your vision for it, and how close is this practice facility to actually being built?
Yeah, we should break ground here in June.
Awesome.
And it should be done by the following July, August-ish, sometime in that time frame. You know how construction is.
Right.
So I don't know. That's just the projections. And it's just going to be, it's about a 200-yard indoor from, one side of the field to the other. Total has a field and a half, so 120-yard real field and another 50-yard field inside of it. And then we have one of our grass fields outside that it opens up to. And I think it's just going to be an awesome place. It is hot out here in the summer, for most people who don't know. So to be able to give some people are going to want to stay outside and tailgate and go to their exact parking spot that they've been going to for 30 years and tailgate on the asphalt and love it because they have more fun than they could ever have doing anything else right there. And there's another crew of people who are going to want to be, in this setting. So it's just going to be a big tailgate in there. And that's the vision is, create a better game day environment for our fans. And then also right now we're traveling across the street. It's like an 8-minute process, 10-minute process to get to our practice fields.
Wow.
And that seems like a small thing, but when you're trying to transition 150 people that far, it adds up, and kids get stuck at a light. It prevents you from starting at 8:05 on the dot because you got stuck at the light, or there's traffic, or there's so many measurables. So it also just makes us so much more efficient as a football team.
Kenny, just to kind of reemphasize to Arizona State fans and Big 12 Nation your passion for Arizona State, is it true that you attended your first Arizona State game at age 6? Was it the Nebraska game in '96, I think I read?
I was probably younger than that. That was a game I did attend, but, I grew up going to games. I grew up tailgating in the parking lot. I can't see it right here exactly where we used to tailgate, but like I have a wall right there that close to be able to see where I used to tailgate. For the Arizona State fans, we used to have this like windy way to get up when you entered from one side of the stadium. You guys may remember that. 10 years ago they redid the stadium, but you could also climb up, hop like a little guardrail and climb up like the desert to get up the mountain faster to cut out the windy road. So like those are core memories of me being like climbing up that mountain, that little hill, and climbing back down and watching people post game. I didn't know why people post game failed so much at it going down the hill. I now know why.
I know why.
I now know why. But before, when I was 5, I'm like, that dude can't walk down a hill. What is he doing going down this hill? But so I remember all of those moments of getting up and down. But actually, crazy enough, that hill is something that like I still remember to this day.
Wow, dude, that's awesome. Those people, they're pounding Modelo's, our official sponsor of Big 12 today. Kenny, thanks for your time, man. We'll see you here in a couple of months at spring meetings.
Sounds good. I appreciate y'all. Go Devils.
Arizona State coach Kenny Dillingham here on Big 12 Radio, and you're watching us on Big 12 Studios.
Jaden Bradley guarded by Boogie Fland. Fland is a good defender. Up and over. Chenyelu goes Bradley.
Rest of our fabulous TNT Sports crew here from Tucson, Arizona.
Just vicious. In the non-conference play, he's obviously almost always guaranteed to give you 10 and 10.
Bradley with the block there, went the other way, but they didn't have the ball. That's going to be out of bounds.
David Punch. That tough shot, challenge. Kribas, you talked about it earlier.
Yep.
The effect, even though he doesn't get a block shot, Fran, he clearly changed that one. It's back to the other end. Jaden Bradley, chance for 4. Roy pulls off target from deep, buries the rebound. Karchenkov in transition. Bradley, look out!
Well, I think Kingston Clemens is the sole reason as to why.
Panchukas threw it right away to Bradley all alone.
Del Orso, 3.
Tough one.
Oh, Karchenkov, what a save.
Nice.
Great look. Del Orso from Bradley.
Remember, it's not just the first shot, it's the offensive rebound.
Bradley trying to do it himself. Oh! He does! He hit it!
Big 12 today on Big 12 Radio. Putting a wrap on our Modelo Spring Road Trip touring Big 12 Country Arizona State edition. We just talked with head coach Kenny Dillingham. We pivot back over to basketball. Sweet 16 games tonight and tomorrow. And to get the opponent angle, which is a new series we started this week, we welcome in Ryan Schumpert, the Tennessee beat writer for Rocky Top Insider. Hey, Ryan, what's up?
Not much. How are you guys doing?
Man, thanks for coming on with us. We appreciate it. Tennessee's been a staple in the NCAA tournament. Fourth straight Sweet 16 for Rick Barnes, back-to-back Elite Eights the last 2 years. So tell us about Tennessee basketball, this 2026 version. What should Iowa State fans be wary of?
Yeah, it's sort of a new-look Tennessee team. The last 3 years, those teams that made the Sweet 16 and then the last two made the Elite Eight largely had the same core. When you want to talk about Zakai Ziegler and Jemai Meshack, and before those guys, Josiah Jordan-James, Santiago Vescovi, kind of program guys. And Tennessee lost those guys to graduation over the last 2 years and kind of had to rebuild it. Some young guys out of that have been in the program, for a short time have stepped into bigger roles, but certainly the stars are transfer point guard Jacoby Gillespie and then a five-star freshman Nathan Mint. So those are kind of the main guys when you talk about this team specifically, and maybe what Iowa State should be concerned about. I think the rebounding is the big thing. Tennessee, Rick Barnes built this team to be bigger inside and have more depth and just to be able to play, ideally to have a more consistent inside offensive threat. That hasn't always been the case, but they've been able to rebound the ball just really, really well all season. First nationally in offensive rebound rate. And I think when looking at some of the numbers, that's kind of been a trend in some of Iowa State's losses this year, is giving up offensive rebounds. And, that I think is from a matchup standpoint, one area Tennessee has to feel pretty solid coming into this game.
Okay, before we go any further, I've got to acknowledge a really awesome picture of the Art Institute behind you. However, that hat has got to go.
Well, I was hoping to make it the opening day today here in Chicago, but it's by about 2:30. It's supposed to have hell showers, so I don't know if I can blow off my work responsibilities to sit in the rain delay at Wrigley Field.
Yeah, opening day in Chicago is actually in a few weeks.
So you're a White Sox guy.
Yeah, if you want, you can drive up to Milwaukee for opening day.
Okay, yeah, well, it'd be a short drive. Could be out there in 90 minutes or so.
Yeah, I grew up in Chicago, live in Dallas now. Big White Sox fan. Excited for opening day today. It's a huge sports day. We got the Sweet 16. We got opening day in baseball. It's pretty amazing. At least we can agree on the Bears, and the multiple Super Bowls are about to win. So long as they get this draft right. What were we talking about?
Tennessee,
Iowa State,
There's
Chicago.
A basketball game.
Yeah. What do you think? It's funny because Rick Barnes, it feels like the MO on Rick Barnes is he underperforms in the tournament. What's your kind of read on Barnes at this point in his Tennessee career?
Yeah, I think that, you're right. That has been the read or the narrative. And if we want to go back 5 years when Tennessee won about 10 of their final 12 games, entering the NCAA tournament, won the SEC tournament for the first time in 40 years, and then lost as a 3 seed to an 11 seed Michigan in the Sweet 16 or in the round of 32, I think that had never been louder and felt pretty accurate. But these last 4 years now to make the Sweet 16 and 2 trips to the Elite Eight, I think he's done a lot to quiet that noise. I mean, I don't, that's why he got fired at Texas, is he wasn't making the Sweet 16 the second weekend of the tournament as much as they wanted. And now he's done it 4 times in the last 4 years, 5 times in his 11 years as Tennessee's head coach. You go back that first year of the run, Tennessee's starting point guard Zakai Ziegler tore his ACL the penultimate game in the regular season. They beat a Duke team that not many people thought they were going to beat round of 32. This year, Tennessee's a 6 seed and beats a 3 seed in the round of 32. So that noise is going to be there until Rick gets Tennessee to a Final Four. But from my perspective, I think that narrative's not nearly as strong as it once was with the success Tennessee's had over the last 4 years in the tournament.
Yeah, that makes sense. Back-to-back Elite Eights. And when I look at Tennessee's leading scorers, 4 of their top 5 leading scorers are 6'10", 6'11", 6'11", and 6'8". This is a massive basketball team. So how are the guards? Is that kind of been the weakness outside of Gillespie, or I guess my question is, why wasn't Tennessee better, at least offensively?
Yeah, I think that would be a good place to start. Tennessee, they made a run after Isaac McNeely in the portal. He ends up at Louisville. They made a run at Rodney Rice. He ends up at USC. They kind of kicked the tires with Duke Miles, who ended up at really at A&M when they were originally recruiting him, and then he got out of that and ended up at Vanderbilt. So that's an area they haven't had a ton of offense from the two-guard spot. They brought in Ethan Berg, who is an Israeli professional. They brought in Amari Abram from Louisiana Tech. They haven't gotten a ton from either of those guys. Bishop Boswell is the starter at the two-guard spot. He's a true sophomore, and he didn't play much as a freshman a year ago, and he's gotten better as the year went on, but it's just been really inconsistent. He probably played his best game of the season against Virginia. Hit 4 threes, which is a career high, had 9 assists with no turnovers. And certainly I think that 4 threes I don't think is too, something I'm expecting him to replicate on Friday night. But if he can take care of the basketball in this game without turning it over, I think it would just be huge. So that's probably the biggest part. But I also think Tennessee expected that they would get at least in the cumulative more from their front court offensively. Jalen Carey's been really inconsistent. Felix Okpara kind of is what he is, but JP Estrella, while he's had stretches of playing really well this year, hasn't been super consistent and has dealt with some injuries. So it would start with the two-guard spot, them not getting a ton there. But I don't think they're necessarily shocked by that, given how the roster ended up unfolding. I think it's really in the front line where they thought they would get a little bit more than they had this season.
Yeah. What do you make of Iowa State? Obviously this is a very good basketball team that's playing without its best player. And, I know that T.J. Otzelberger said he's questionable. Will be a game-time decision. What do you read on Iowa State right now in this matchup?
Yeah, I think so much of it is about Joshua Jefferson, just because of, the caliber of player he is. I think, if he's able to play in this game, that would force, I think Tennessee would put Felix Okpara, who's their starting center and a real defensive stopper, on him. And that's what they've done a lot. He's had to guard on the perimeter, and he's really good at it, but he's also a really good shot blocker. So if Jefferson can't go and they're able to stick Okpara on Buchanan or someone else that can't stretch the floor as much, I think that gives Tennessee a lot better rim protection in this game. And then, I'll be curious to see what they do with Momcilovic. I think Nate is maybe the more natural choice to guard him because he's 6'10" and has the length. But at the same time, Bishop Boswell's been their best defender this year. I don't know if they'll, just from a pure energy standpoint, Nate Amint's banged up too. He's not 100% with an ankle injury. And certainly he's got to use a lot of energy on the offensive end too. If maybe they'll opt to go with Bishop Boswell on him to be able to go full energy. So from a matchup standpoint, those are the things I'm kind of curious by. And then just, I mentioned the offensive rebounding being the advantage maybe Tennessee can exploit. On the opposite end, it's certainly turnovers. This Tennessee team goes right into that lack of two-guard, has been vulnerable to turn the ball over all season. And certainly, Iowa State forces turnovers at a higher clip than anyone Tennessee's played this season. So I think if Rick Barnes is writing the keys to the game on the whiteboard tomorrow night, I would have to think that protecting the basketball is number one for him.
Yeah, it's really interesting because it's like a strength versus weakness in both categories, one favoring Iowa State and the other Tennessee. We're talking with Ryan Shumpert, who covers Tennessee for Rocky Top Insider. He joins us from Chicago. So Iowa State's 5th nationally in defensive efficiency. They force turnovers on 22.5% of opponents' possessions. How is Tennessee with their ball security, and how do they survive that pressure?
Yeah, not very well would be, it's been from the first game of the season. I can't even remember what bye game Tennessee played, but they turned it over about 17 times. And it's, there's been good games in there, but it's very off and on. And I think the Virginia game was a perfect example of it. Tennessee turned it over one time in the first half, like 3 times in the first 32 minutes of the game. And they still ended up with 10 turnovers and some really boneheaded ones down the stretch of the game that helped Virginia get back in it. So is Tennessee capable of going out there and doing a solid job protecting the ball? Sure, but it's hard to have a ton of confidence in them against a ball pressure like Iowa State has. I think the thing that I would point to, especially if Jefferson doesn't play, can Tennessee make their turnovers dead ball turnovers. Because Iowa State just, against Kentucky, was able to just get those pick sixes, get turnovers, and get out in transition and run. As much as anything, obviously turnovers are always going to be concerned about or talk about the shot volume game. I think as much as this one, can Tennessee, whose defense isn't as good as it's been in years past, but it's still pretty strong, can they force Iowa State to play into half court and run a lot of clock? Because if they get out and turn those Tennessee turnovers into transition points, I think it's going to be tough for the Vols to come out on top.
And Ryan, you said Tennessee's a little bit banged up. Who are the guys that we should keep an eye on in terms of injuries?
Yeah, really just Nathan Mint. Okay. He back on February 24th, I think he rolled his ankle against Missouri. He came back in and played the rest of that game, and then however many days later, the next game against Alabama, he kind of got rolled up on, hurt his ankle, also hurt his knee on that play. So he's been dealing with both. I think the ankle has been more pertinent to giving him issues. He missed 2 games, came back and played in the SEC tournament. But even against Miami, Ohio in the first round, he didn't score in that game, didn't play very well. Tennessee was up big with about 12 minutes left. He was kind of gimpy. They just didn't even put him back in. So he's just clearly not at 100%. He's going to play. He's going to try to give it a go on Friday night, but he's not quite the same guy he was in February when he was taking over in the second half of a lot of SEC games.
All right, Ryan, what does your gut say about this game? It's a 4.5-point spread in favor of Iowa State. We don't know about Jefferson. Does Tennessee get it done, or is Iowa State too much?
Yeah, to me it feels like about a toss-up if Jefferson can't go. So factoring in the possibility of him playing in a toss-up if he doesn't go, I would lean Iowa State closely. Just that aspect and the turnovers that's been a reoccurring theme for Tennessee, makes me worried.
Yeah, makes sense. Ryan Shumpert, great stuff, man. Appreciate your time, and enjoy Chicago.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on.
You bet. Ryan Shumpert, Tennessee beat writer for Rocky Top Insider, learning a lot about Tennessee, just how dominant they are on the offensive glass. They struggle with ball security. That favors Iowa State. My overarching take from that conversation is that this is going to be a really close game.
Yeah, but I think you just hit the nail on the head in terms of the number one factor to look at here. There's an Iowa State defense that turned teams over, that just won a game against Kentucky based on turning Kentucky over. And I think with or without Jefferson, that's a really good opportunity for Iowa State. I mean, the strength of Iowa State plays into the weakness of Tennessee. That's huge. I mean, you ratchet up that pressure. This is a team that can be as aggressive on defense as anybody in the country.
Tennessee had a really big lead against Virginia. Virginia mounted their comeback once Tennessee started turning the ball over in the second half. All right, coming up next, we get the inside scoop from Houston's Joseph Duarte. Covers Houston for the Chronicle Reporter. He'll join us coming up next to preview Houston and Illinois from Houston in his own backyard. He's Ari, I'm James. This is Big 12 Radio.
Defensively, those young guys look really good.
A seal and a throwdown. Kingston Flemings.
Of Kingston Flemings. Boy, that's a trap. That's freshman on freshman trap. And then look at the finish by the point guard.
Shot clock at 2 for Flemings. He tries a deep 3. Wow! Larua returns from the bench. There's a dunk from Kingston Flemings. Oh, my.
Woo! All by himself in the corner.
Oh, tough rebound from Sadak.
Golly.
Flemings, another no-look dime. And Sadak has a dunk.
Flemings 3. He does end the half with an 18-point performance to the Auburn faithful.
The challenge of the freshman's career is coming up right now.
Tahad Pettiford, who has sliced and diced Houston the last 2 years, into the lane, rejected.
So they take advantage of that sprint down the middle. Tough shot. Uzan got a piece of the rebound, and it's Atwell. He steps through, and it's blocked away by Flemings. Is that the longest you've ever seen play continue?
In the blue, making noise. Flemings got some space, and he throws it down. Wow!
In Paris, he's never seen anybody with this burst as he goes right to the hole.
previewing Houston and Illinois here on Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, brought to you by our friends at Modelo. Hopefully we're pounding Modelo's after Houston takes down Illinois tonight. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling.
Will you be pounding Modelo's with me at Cafe Gecko tonight?
Totally. TBD. Still TBD. Joseph Duarte covers Houston for the Houston Chronicle, friend of the program. Joseph, no secret that Houston's playing in its own backyard, but, you know, the Fertitta Center seats about, 7,000? The Toyota Center is this massive NBA-style arena, so does the city of Houston realize how big of a deal this is, and what do you expect tonight in terms of truly having a home court advantage?
Well, you know, yeah, there's about 11,000 more seats. This one seats about 18. But you got to remember, though, they don't have control of those tickets like you would for a home game. So there's going to be a lot of red, but that could also be Nebraska red, because after watching them in Oklahoma City, they travel. Their coach, Fred Hoiberg, joked that they were probably getting in the car right after that game on Saturday and driving down to Houston immediately. So I think the problem this week has been Houston fans trying to get their hands on tickets. Not sure how much the Florida game impacted what was available. Maybe some more got thrown back into the market. But you've got different teams that haven't been here in a long time or ever been this deep in the tournament. So between Houston fans and the three Big Ten teams, it's going to be loud. It's going to be sold out. It's just, I'll be interested to see what the divide is on who actually got tickets in the end.
What's the biggest kind of matchup here you're looking for, Joseph?
The boards.
Yeah.
I think inside, Houston does what they do well, and, they've got the tips and the extra possession stuff, but now they're facing a team who is equally on par with what they do, if not maybe a little slightly better. And that's where, Houston's not a very good first shot team, so that's what they rely on. I think you kind of sort of need to make more of your shots. You need to control what they do, because they have the opportunity to be really, really good on that front. And plus, they have size. This is probably one of the bigger teams. You think about the Big 12. Houston doesn't face a lot of teams where they're just like an overwhelming size disadvantage, but Illinois has, I believe, the third or fourth tallest team in the country, or maybe even the tallest, according to KenPom. So those are two things that I'm watching.
Yeah, Illinois is massive. They've got two 7-footers, 7'1" and 7'2", and then even their guards are 6'6", 6'7", 6'6" off the bench. They're just really long. So with that said, who has to, I guess, who's the X factor for Houston?
I saw where, like, for Wagler, for instance, he's 6'6". I think it was Michigan that put a bigger body on him, and they were able to maybe do some things. I don't know if that falls on a Sinak, but even then, he doesn't cover, that out there and with somebody as athletic as Wagler. So I don't know if it's Sharp is their best perimeter defender, and I think they kind of ride with him against the best matchup most of the time. So with Kelvin, they do a lot of double teams. They like to move things around. Maybe it's kind of a collective effort on who it falls on, but that's kind of what Houston's defense has always been about. It's about the whole versus an individual. And I've seen Houston this year play some really good players that they've done a good job of at least slowing them down, not necessarily shutting them down completely, but if you can just limit a guy's shots or get him where he's not going, that's where Houston is able to stay in the fights.
We're talking with Joseph Duarte, Houston Chronicle, about tonight's matchup between Houston and Illinois. When you look at Kelvin Sampson and how much winning he's done, and especially at Houston, the way he's built this program, what are your thoughts on his legacy in this game?
It's cemented. I mean, he's going to be a Hall of Famer if it's not this year.
Yeah, he's up for it this year.
The next couple of years, he's up for the first time he's been nominated. He's a finalist. I look at the numbers all the time, and it still kind of blows me away where he's at. He came into this year, he got his 800 win. By the early part of next season, he can move into the top 10 all-time in wins. So, it's the one piece of what he's missing. It's a national championship, and that, whether he gets it or not, will have no impact on his career. I know he would like to get one, and I thought they were really close last year and should have got it. But yeah, as he put it, I think the biggest thing for him is they've sort of brought the Camelot era to Houston, and that was no easy task because this place was just completely in ruins when he got here. And he has taken it and rebuilt it. Not even renovations, he rebuilt the thing back. I mean, he started from the ground up, and I think that's what his legacy will be and then you throw in all the other great things he did at places like Oklahoma.
So Houston is the first team since 2008 to win their first 2 tournament games by 30 or more points. I mean, that is dominance that nobody's talking about in the first 2 games. Was that matchup based, or did you see Houston playing their best basketball here in the tournament?
That's what we wrote about this morning, about their kind of the search for a full, complete, 40-minute game, and I think that's the evidence that they're close. And you look at things that they didn't do well during the season because they were young, or maybe they weren't connecting. They're starting to do that. That second half defense against Kansas, for instance, in the Big 12 semifinals, lockdown. I think Kansas barely shot 20%. And then you look at what they did against Idaho. Even the second half against Arizona when they made that comeback from 15 to get within a possession. Things like that they're doing. You start seeing it, and now has it rolled together as one? Not yet. But that's the great thing about them. They feel like there's still a level that they can get to. And, Kellen Sampson said most nights are good enough to win, but imagine if we can really be great and put together 40 minutes. That's when this team takes that next step to being a really, really strong contender. And, you got 4 games left to do it. So if they're going to find it, it's probably now or never.
Who's the most important player for Houston? Is it Tugler?
I think so, because we saw what happened when he wasn't on the court in the championship game last year. He's a difference maker. And it's not only what he does, he just makes people around him better. JoJo has got a tremendous IQ basketball-wise, basketball IQ. I mean, he sees things out there that sometimes the coaches are like, that's not normal. That's not what most guys are out there focusing on. He just does, and he can do things that most can't do athletically with that long wingspan. So I think he's key because you need to keep him on the floor. If I had to go with a 1A and a 1B, I really think Uzan is a guy that we haven't quite seen yet that is right there ready to pop, and give them some key minutes. This was the point last year where, he had the big game against Purdue that saved them in the Sweet 16, and then he came back and had a really good game against Tennessee. So I think Tugler, Uzan, that's where I would start because, with Flemings, he's been pretty steady. He's going to have a great matchup with Wagler, and, Emmanuel can hit those threes. So it's kind of like, it's all hands on deck, but there's a couple guys like Tugler and Uzan that I think are going to have more central roles, or should.
Yeah, Houston did not shoot the ball well from 3 against Texas A&M, 8 of 31. But when you look at their season, every game that they've shot it really poorly from 3, they've bounced back and shot it at a much higher clip. How about the Houston bench? We've seen Mercy Miller, we've seen Chase McCarty. How many minutes did they log in those first couple of tournament games? And do you expect them to be on the floor in key situations tonight, or is it Kelvin Sampson rolling with his top 5 or 6?
No, I think those are some guys that late in the season have earned the trust and playing time, and I think that they go in there. Mercy had over 20 minutes, I believe, in both of the first 2 games of the tournament. He had 12 points in the last game. He's really come on, and that is huge for them in their rotation at the guard spots because he can give somebody a breather, but there's not a lot of drop off, there's no drop off. And this is a guy, just to give you some context, last year I remember throughout the tournament just going into the locker room, and he would sit at his locker mostly alone. Nobody was really talking to him. He was in the worst shooting funk that I had seen by anyone in a long time. I think he maybe had one or maybe no field goals through Big 12 play. I mean, he was just at the bottom in terms of confidence and where he was. And to see a year later what he's done, that's been huge for him. McCarty was he came in and that when they had basically took the team out late in that Kansas loss at Allen Fieldhouse, he came in and had some valuable minutes that have sort of that gave them the confidence that he could be someone that they could rely on. And he had the 6 threes against Oklahoma State. They don't win that game without him. So those two guys alone, big roles I think this weekend. And then Khalifa Sacco, he spells Tugler when JoJo's not in there. And then if you remember, you saw, I believe in the Arizona game at the Big 12 tournament, they used both of their bigs on the court at the same time. So I think we could see a little bit of that. We probably will tonight, just based on Indiana's size. But that's sort of it's an 8-man rotation, and I think that's where Kelvin goes with the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean it's a really good point and an interesting question, especially because of Illinois' front court. And you do wonder again, like how deep this bench goes with guys that we've seen of late, like McCarty and Miller. I mean, I think that's one of the more intriguing parts to how Houston has evolved. Iowa State too. I mean, Iowa State's kind of extended their bench as well later in the season, which we're not really used to seeing. And I can't remember if it was you or who we had on earlier this year that basically talked about, a guy like Mylik Wilson is sorely missed this year for Houston, where they just didn't have the firepower they had last year coming off the bench that could help you win games. It feels like Kelvin tried to establish some of that later in the season. Yeah,
and guys like Malik were they're so valuable because he came up with some. He was the guy who hit the big shot in the Kansas overtime game, but his defense, especially like a pick and roll type defender, he excelled, and they just couldn't teach that over one off season to the new kids or the newcomer. So that was one thing that he brought to the table. But you go back, they've always had one guy that would come off the bench, like a Justin Gorham or somebody who was just a rebound guy and could just do things for you, gave you that high energy. That's what they get out of guys like McCarty's interesting because he's gotten so much better with the rebounds, but he's also, when maybe the other guys aren't hitting threes, he can come in and start lighting it up from out there. And that's sort of what Miller has done as well, where you may not have to rely on Emmanuel or Milos to hit the threes as much because you got some guys coming off the bench that have shown and proven that they can also do the job.
What does your gut tell you about tonight? Is Houston okay, or is there potential for an upset?
Well, I mean, I think this is the best Sweet 16 game of the bunch, and to me, the team that wins this one probably goes on to the Final Four. Kelvin, I've learned not to bet against Kelvin, and simply because I've seen him play teams that you just look at paper and say, this is not a good matchup. This is not going to fare well if they don't have things going. And then somehow they get you into one of their games, and I believe Illinois scores about 84 a game. You end up seeing Illinois possibly score 65 or 67. And I think that's the kind of game we're looking at tonight. It's going to be a grind, a physical battle. And if Houston stays out of foul trouble and gets to the line, which they don't always do a lot of, I could see this being a low 70s, high 60s type game. Houston winning and being one step away Saturday to going back to the Final Four.
Love it, Joseph. Hope it goes that way. Appreciate your time and enjoy the game tonight.
Thank you, guys.
Joseph Duarte, Houston Chronicle, covers Houston, joins us on the reg here on Big 12 Today. This is Big 12 Radio. So that bench that Joseph alluded to, like Chase McCarty is third on the team, actually second on the team in defensive rebounding percentage.
Wow.
When he's on the floor, he rebounds 14% of all available baskets. So he's really leaned into that defensive rebounding mantra, even though he's an outstanding three-point shooter. And then Mercy Miller is currently, he's up to third on the team in usage rate. So when he's on the floor, they are going to him. He trails only Kingston Flemings and Emmanuel Sharp. So, like, those bench guys have been big.
Well, and again, I think, I don't know if it just evolved from what they saw earlier this year, or if Sampson just figured it was time. But, he needed to get a deeper bench, and that's happened here. He's found the right guys, and it's the right combination.
Yeah, they're both really good. All right, coming up next here on Big 12 Today, brought to you by Modelo, we play a little Let's Get It On. It's our debate segment before we talk with Jason Shear, the senior editor and publisher of WildcatAuthority.com, to break down Arizona. He's Ari, I'm James. T-Chains will hop in here after this timeout. This is Big 12 Radio.
Those young guys look really good.
A seal and a throwdown. Kingston Flemings.
Of Kingston Flemings. Boy, that's a trap. That's freshman on freshman trap. And then look at the finish by the point guard.
Shot clock at 2 for Flemings. He tries a deep three. Wow! Larua returns from the bench. There's a dunk from Kingston Flemings.
Oh, my. Woo! All by himself in the corner.
Oh, tough rebound from Sadak.
Golly.
Flemings, another no-look dime. And Sadak has a dunk.
Flemings 3. He does end the half with an 18-point performance to the Auburn faithful.
The challenge of the freshman's career is coming up right now.
Tahad Pettiford, who has sliced and diced Houston the last 2 years, into the lane, rejected.
So they take advantage of that sprint down the middle. Tough shot. Uzan got a piece of the rebound, and it's Atwell. He steps through, and it's blocked away by Flemings. Is that the longest you've ever seen play?
In the blue, making noise. Flemings got some space, and he throws it down. Wow!
In Paris, he's never seen anybody with this burst as he goes right to the hole.
Big 12 today here on Big 12 Radio, brought to you, the full-time fan, by Modelo. It's our Let's Get It On segment, and apparently, T-Chains, I'll be debating myself because there he is, Ari Timken, moving a little slow today, like his body just discovered gravity for the first time.
What's that supposed to mean?
Are you a little sore today?
No, never. I don't.
I've never seen you walk slower.
You've chosen violence, so let's get it on so I can come after you.
He's ready.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right, locked and loaded. Taman Turner, T-Chains, our producer on the audio side, Anthony Smith on the video side. T-Chains has some topics for our debate segment. Let's get it on.
Let's get it on! All right, guys. Topic numero uno. Which senior point guard will play better in the Sweet 16? Will it be Jaden Bradley of Arizona? Or will it be Taman Lipsey of Iowa State?
Ooh. Taman just wanted to have a Taman mention here.
Duh!
I'll go first here. I'm going to go with Jaden Bradley because earlier this season you asked Tommy Lloyd why Jaden Bradley was such an underrated point guard. And he said, I don't know, why do you underrate him so much? So I'm going to force you into underrating Jaden Bradley again by choosing Taman Lipsey.
Let's get it on!
Jaden Bradley scored 12 of his 18 points in the second half versus Utah State, went 5 of 7 from the field in crunch time after starting 1 of 9 from the field first half. And Jared Calhoun after that game literally said, if they're going to win a national championship, Bradley's going to get them there. And, I mean, that's why this is a clear answer to the question. Because of all the players and talent that Arizona has, Bradley's the guy with his ball with his hands on the ball at the end of a game. And I think that's most important. And a lot of times with a team that has as much depth and ability as Arizona, you don't get that. Like the problem sometimes with those teams is, what do you do in crunch time? Where do you go? And Barry's is great. You know, want to have the ball in Koa Pete's hands at times. He likes to attack downhill from the top of the key. But ultimately, for me, it's Bradley because the ball's going to be in his hands at the end of the game.
Well, Bradley will have Darius Acuff Jr. to deal with in their game tonight. Taman Lipsey is clearly
just continues to underrate Jaden Bradley.
To have the bigger game in the Sweet 16. Did you watch the Kentucky game? Like at all? Did you flip on the channel, pop on the old TV and see Taman Lipsey with 26 points, 10 assists, and 5 steals?
The question is, though, in the Sweet 16, yes, not what you just did.
Taman Lipsey is on a heater, is my point. He only needs 11 points to go over 1,500 for his career. He'll have that by halftime. And he will feast, absolutely feast, on those Tennessee guards who struggle apparently to bounce the basketball off the floor. It's called dribbling because Tennessee is one of the worst teams in the country in turnover rate, and Iowa State's one of the best. Taman Lipsey also holds the Iowa State NCAA tournament record for career steals after his 5-steal performance against a Kentucky backcourt that's a lot better than Tennessee. He's going to have another monster game in the Sweet 16. I'm going Taman Lipsey.
I like it. I like James's argument. All right, this should be a good one because Ari's going to love this one. So topic number 2, will Bill Self be the head coach at Kansas next season?
Ooh.
Yes or no?
I want you to go first on this one because I don't want this to be you've got to take the other side. I want your true opinion.
No, I went first last time, so you can go first this time.
All right. I think he's back. I really do. I think he's going to coach one more year.
Okay, good. I would have taken the no side, so good.
Okay, perfect.
So this worked out perfectly.
You know, he fired back at the reports that he was retiring yesterday. He said it's all BS, bad info, no news. Kansas is actively pursuing the number 1 ranked player in the country for 2026. If they land Tyron Stokes, Kansas will have the number 1 ranked recruiting class in the country because it's not just Stokes. They've got 4 other top 75 guys signed. Last year's Peterson class was 16th, even with Peterson. This is going to be number 1. I just don't think he walks away. I don't think he walks away after a season like this. I think he goes one more year to set the table for Jock Vaughn, who then can really win the press conference because he will have been on staff for 2 years and just cleaning up on the recruiting trail.
You know, it's interesting because Borzello and Thamel both have reported what Bill Self told us, and that is that he's thought about retirement. It's crossed his mind. He thought about retiring before last season. He's had 2 stints placed since 2023. He missed the entire 2023 postseason and, of course, a game this season due to health scares. After he's talked about thinking in 2-year increments now, not 5.
Let's get it on!
This is now the 4th straight season that Kansas was eliminated in the first weekend. And I think here's the thing that nobody wants to talk about. As good as Bill Self has been in his career, and he's a Hall of Famer and one of the greats to ever coach at Kansas, he is clearly on the back end of his career.
Yeah.
His best days are behind him.
Let's get it on!
And if there's one thing about the money involved in Kansas basketball, they don't take losing in the first or second round very easy. Now, with that being said, that could go the other way, right?
Get it on!
We've seen with Kentucky go through bouts of having the wrong coach and missing the tournament entirely. North Carolina seems to be on that path, right? Like UCLA, like I'm not saying that's the right move. I'm simply saying, like, I know that Kansas money doesn't like losing in the first or second round and does not like not getting to the second weekend. Now, you hire somebody else, there's no guarantee you're going to get even to the tournament.
Let's get it
So
on!
you could completely mess yourself up. But that's like one of the dirty little secrets here that nobody wants to talk about is, would Bill Self be in a position to where the donors are not happy with the consecutive outcomes of seasons? I know last year that there was a feeling of, if they don't make it past the first weekend this year, there might be some talk about some of those donors trying to push in one direction. So, again, my feeling on this is he's retiring. He's done. And I think maybe he goes another year, but like recent history suggests that his best coaching's behind him.
I mean, Villanova's going through it. This is the first Sweet 16 without UCLA, Kansas, Kentucky, and North Carolina since 1978. Like, the Blue Bloods in this NIL era, there's a transition period stage after a legend retires. Like, not everybody can beat Duke. Duke hit it out of the park. You actually usually see it go the other way, where after a legend retires, the next guy filling in struggles to meet those expectations, and then it's the coach after him that turns the program around.
I like both sides of your argument, but for different reasons. All right, topic number 3. With Houston and Iowa State both being 2 seeds, which coach has done a better job up to this point in the tournament? Kelvin Sampson or TJ Otzelberger?
I'm Team Otzelberger here.
Okay.
And so Randy Peterson, who wrote for the Des Moines Register, now writes for Cyclone Fanatic, had this great article after this game. He wrote, that when TJ Otzelberger was hired by Iowa State, his dad told Randy, TJ's dad told Randy, TJ is a fixer. And in a huge moment, that's what TJ did. You lose your best player in the first round of a season in which you're a 2 seed and everybody expects you to make a deep run. But he didn't panic, and he fixed the situation. He made the best of the situation. He moved Nate Heisey in the starting lineup. And really, I mean, this was set up by Heisey being the 6th starter all year. He's a great defensive player. He can rebound well for his size. Then he expanded Blake Buchanan's role. Buchanan has come on of late and trying to make up for Jefferson's loss with the size. In the Tennessee State opener, Buchanan had 11 points, 7 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 blocks, and 3 steals. Ridiculous line. And then followed that up in the Kentucky game with 9 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 steals in 31 minutes against Kentucky. And then I think what they did against Kentucky to really be aggressive and up-tempo was they pressed them. So they did a really good job of forcing the pressure on Kentucky, sped them up, and turned them over. So I think it's obvious, like, Sampson's coaching has not been as obvious because of Otzelberger's need to coach this team in a way without Jefferson. So I think the answer here is clearly Otzelberger.
Yeah, I think A-plus grades for both. You know, if you had told me a month ago that Iowa State would be one of the 3 teams left in the Big 12, I would have thought you were crazy. After some of their injury issues and a couple losses, they were really vulnerable on the road, losing to TCU. They were having these long scoring droughts, and they have fixed all of that. But I'll lean Kelvin Sampson because you don't just beat your first 2 opponents by 31. First team to do that since 2008 in the tournament, and that go by the wayside. Houston had struggled with turnovers at times this season. They have cleaned that up, 11 or less in their last 6 games. They also have toyed with their rotation a little bit. Just the emergence of Mercy Miller and Chase McCarty at the most important, crucial time of the year to have those guys on the floor has been massive. And then the knock on Houston is that, well, they don't rebound the basketball like the last 5 or 6 Houston teams. That's not at all distracting. Please, more. There you can really lean into it. Oh, he's got the head bob going. I think this guy can dance a little bit. That's just my gut feeling. We got to get you out there, Cafe Gecko in the cars. Houston pounded.
Not exactly a dance bar.
Texas, not until we arrived. Pounded Texas A&M on the glass, 46-29. Out-rebounded them by 17. So what Houston has done under Sampson has been remarkable. Let's get it on! This guy, he's feeling. Please, more of that.
I just gotta say,
There it is. That's it. That is it.
It's hard to do that move with the headphones on.
That is it. No, it looks good though.
See, if you're just listening to us, you're missing a big part of what we're doing.
You really are. You gotta hit Big 12 Studios. Artie's dancing. He likes to do it only when I'm speaking. Because when he's speaking, he's stiff as a board. But when I'm talking, we hit the dance floor. Okay.
By the way, I'm Team Ari on that. The dancing.
Taman's evacuating the dance floor.
But Otzelberger, when Joshua Jefferson got hurt, Iowa State went on like a 20-something-0 run. I give Otzelberger all the credit. Okay, final topic. There was 2 head coaches who were hired this week in the Big 12.
Taman, there's 3 new coaches in the Big 12.
I know there's 3, but 2 this week. There were 2 hired this week, James. And so my question is, which newly hired head coach will have more success next season, Jarrett Calhoun or Randy Bennett?
The answer here is Casey Alexander. We've not spoken enough about Casey Alexander. K-State's the first school to make a coaching hire, and we just tossed it aside.
Pick one of the 2.
We don't care.
Do you understand the assignment?
Kansas State Bruins next year. Belmont's already got like 4 guys in the portal. Casey Alexander finally has the NIL support that he never had.
Anytime you got a chance to, basically pick off the entire team of a Belmont roster that made it, to the Sweet 16 this year? You got to do it.
Well, he's won 20 or more games each of the last 11 seasons. There's only 3 other coaches in America that have done that, and it's Tom Izzo, Bill Self, and I don't remember the third off the Kelvin Sampson.
What conference is Belmont in? Oh, the Missouri Valley. Yeah. That's as good as the Big 12. Absolutely.
Best group of 5s out there. But I'll go Calhoun. I just think Cincinnati, number one, they have a lot of underclassmen. They had a top 25 recruiting class coming into this year. I think just the excitement around him and the program, he may be able to retain a couple of those guys, including Chom, the big fella. Mustamba? Chom. Mufasa. Chom.
I mean, could he have answered that with any less conviction?
They're going to get Chom
I've
back.
Won this debate because you start off.
Get Chom back, who's only a sophomore. All Big 12 7-footer.
I've won this debate because, you haven't you had no conviction. You chose somebody off the board. You were like, I guess I'll take Calhoun because I have to choose somebody.
The answer here is Casey Alexander.
Clearly, the answer is Randy Bennett. Everything you just brought up about Alexander is there for Bennett. Also, I had to dance while I was talking because you said I can't do it, which is really hard to do, by the way.
I know.
It's hard to.
You have a whole new respect for Usher. Legit. Seriously. It's very challenging.
Well, I could sing. The problem is I've not memorized, the singing. Okay, never mind.
A lot of different parts of the brain are firing on all cylinders.
I mean, Randy Bennett's
Dance,
returning home.
Think, and speak.
Yeah. No, there's the active brain and then there's the passive brain. Those are two different sides of the brain. It's a whole thing. Mesa native returning home. I mean, the same argument made for Casey Alexander you could make for Randy Bennett, only he's done it for a longer period of time with more winning. Like, talk about winning 20 games every year. Which, by the way, you win 20 games in the Big 12, that gets you a big boat of nothing. So win 25 games, and then you've done something in this conference. But, I mean, I just think to get a guy like that to come to Arizona State, it's best case scenario. It would be like a blue blood being able to lure a Tommy Lloyd. To me, you know, like if you're Arizona State, you have enough cachet to lure a guy like that. And I don't know that every year you would, but clearly they did now. I think that's clearly the best hire.
Cocaine-fueled sharks are on the prowl in the Caribbean. Scientists blame Ari. Or partying tourists. It's a real headline. Minus the Ari part. All right, Jason Shear is going to join us coming up next. Senior editor and publisher of WildcatAuthority.com to preview Arizona and Arkansas after the break. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio and on Big 12 Studios.
High-level matchup. Top 20 teams going at it. Momcilovic resets his feet, cashes in a three-pointer. Lipsy bowls his way in. Lipsy no good. Ball's loose. Lipsy saves it. Another chance here for the Cyclones. Momcilovic for three. Cash!
Jefferson's got 9 points.
Momcilovic back in for this possession, takes a step back three, and that is why.
Freeman couldn't get there. Live ball turnover. Heisey flying for the Cyclones. Feeds the wing. Momcilovic record.
But they've got to come up with some sets, and there again, just getting extended.
Momcilovic with a jackhammer. Working overtime here in what has been just a tremendous couple of days of hoops in Las Vegas. Momcilovic, this is unbelievable.
In high jump. Well, he definitely showed it going on that end. I know he didn't finish the basket, but he got up where a lot of other people aren't going to get to.
Momcilovic, yes. Peterson this time on the drive. Left it short. Momcilovic backing down White. Little hook shot will go.
Oh, great job by Flory. What a closeout.
Winding down. Momcilovic.
Whoa. And won a couple games. Watch this.
What a sequence, Jay, here in the closing seconds of the first half.
2 huge threes in transition by Momcilovic.
He's going to try one more. Got it! Oh! And then with 2.8 on the clock, they get up the court.
Big 12 Today here on Big 12 Radio, brought to you by Modelo, heard exclusively on TuneIn. We head out to Tucson to chat with our buddy Jason Shear, breaking down Arizona and their Sweet 16 matchup, senior editor, publisher of WildcatAuthority.com. All right, Jason, how are we feeling about the matchup and tonight's Sweet 16 game?
Anxious. I think anxious is the best way to put it. I mean, Arizona's hasn't made it past the Sweet 16 since 2015, and this is clearly their best team or their most suited team to do it in quite a while. But we'll see. I mean, if Arizona plays the way that they've been playing, they should be fine. But in the tournament, anything can happen, and it's a one-game deal, and we'll see what happens here tonight.
You know, this is the spot for Tommy Lloyd, right? I mean, the Sweet 16's been his rough patch. To me, that was when asked yesterday about the North Carolina opening from Seth Davis. To me, the emotion from him felt more along the lines of like he needs to win this game, and then he needs to win the next game, but certainly this game because it's the spot that he's struggled to get out of the most.
Yeah, I mean, there's pressure, and he won't say there's pressure or anything like that, but there's pressure to win. I mean, at this point, it's funny, like it's not a horrible list when you look at it from an outside perspective, but the whole best coach to never make a Final Four, right? Like that thing will come up with Tommy Lloyd, but right now he's the best coach not to make an Elite Eight, right? Like he's lost three Sweet 16s or whatever it is, and to lose in another one would be just hugely disappointing because, like I said, like this is the team. I mean, they've been number one. They won the Big 12, and this is. Everyone's kind of saying like, look, if you can't make the Elite Eight with this team, then man, it's who can he make it with? And it's probably a little more open than that and stuff like that. But I don't know how he deals with pressure. I don't think he's the type of guy where it wears on him. But there's absolutely outside pressure to make an Elite Eight.
So with that said, win or lose, does that change Tommy Lloyd and his name being tied to the North Carolina job? And do you think there's any threat of Tommy leaving Arizona?
I think it's a good question. It's something I don't know from UNC's perspective. I mean, personally, I think it's hard to hire him if he loses in another Sweet 16. I think he becomes a little less attractive, even though he's had all that regular season success, because at North Carolina, it's about titles. I would be surprised if he left Arizona, but I think there's things that have to happen once the season is over in order for him to be comfortable staying at Arizona long term. It's not impossible. There is kind of a rift between him and the athletic director that I think, needs to be ironed out one way or another. But, he's going to listen. I think any coach will listen to North Carolina, and it's going to come down to, A, do they want him? And B, what does that pitch look like, and then see what does Arizona's pitch look like. It's not completely out of the question, but I would say as I talk to you guys now, I would be a little surprised if he wound up taking that job.
Yeah, same. So I guess I'll press you on that, Jason. What do you? I mean, is it NIL budget? Is it coach budget? Like, what do you think the factors are after the season that will help him stay at Arizona?
Yeah, I mean, I look at Mark Few, right? Like Mark Few had pretty much everything he wanted. He was very comfortable in his relationship with the athletic director and turned down a lot of jobs because of it. I think Tommy Lloyd needs to be confident and trust that what he's been told he's going to get, he's going to actually get. Whether that's coaching budget, NIL money, revenue share, whatever. It's got to be an honest breakdown of we could sit down and know what's going to happen on a year-to-year basis financially. And I think that, if there's a lack of clarity there and it's something that maybe is up in the air year to year, it's something that, could impact his status at Arizona moving forward. I just think he needs to be comfortable with his situation and know what he's getting, and everyone needs to kind of be forthright with it.
Yeah, I mean, and when we talked about this earlier, the one thing that I said in reference to maybe the one reason Tommy would leave would be, a lack of cohesion with the athletic director, Desiree Reed-Francois. And that I'm not saying like that's the case, or I even have any insight into whether that's the case. I just know like all other things are equal. Like, Arizona is as good of a program as anybody else, and if they're not a blue blood, they're as close as it gets. And, so for me, it's like all things being equal, the one thing is alignment with president, chancellor, and AD. So I would think, kind of based on what you just said there, that's also within your line of thinking. And again, I have no idea how the relationship is between Tommy and Desiree Reed-Francois. I'm just saying that could be a reason for why he might want to leave.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And look, he loves Tucson. Like, he loves the U of A. I mean, his son is on the staff. His parents are out here. He's got grandkids out here now. Like, it's not a lack of love for Tucson and Arizona. It's just it's alignment. And it's he's never a coach. Like, he coached at Gonzaga. He grew up in Washington and coached there in high school and all that, and JC and played there. And now it's Arizona. Like, it would be a big move for him to go to North Carolina. All things equal, like, if there is alignment and all that, I don't think he would consider North Carolina. I really don't. I think he's perfectly happy in Tucson. I just think that when you look at the big picture, he needs to make sure it's a place where he has good relationships and he could succeed moving forward.
Yeah, completely agree. And it kind of further magnifies just how impressive it is, this recruiting class that he brought in this year, and the fact that he's already landed Caleb Holt for next year, a top 5 prospect.
Yeah, I mean, it's that recruiting class, Arizona's going to lose quite a few guys. It's one of the reasons why I think there is pressure. I mean, this roster next year isn't going to have Bradley, Burries, Koa, ADO, Toby Awaka. Like, at the very least, those guys are gone. And then who knows with Yvonne and Mo Krivas. Like, this is the shot. But with that being said, he's in a position where he could just reload and bring in talent. I mean, for him to bring in a Caleb Holt, for him to bring in a Cam Holmes, all of a sudden you have 2 5-star high school recruits. You got to think that there's going to be some success in the portal. So he's built for success here in terms of roster building and all that. There's just, for him, there's more to it than that.
Yeah. What stands out about this game? Like, when you look deep in the matchup here tonight, like what stands out to you that's clearly an advantage for Arizona, and then the other way too? What's clearly, if they have one, an advantage on the other side?
I think for Arizona, it's the same advantage they've had over most teams, and that's the front court. Arkansas has struggled with big physical front courts. They could deal with athleticism, but the bruising type of front courts, like Florida, for instance, there's been Duke, Houston, Michigan State. Like, it's not a coincidence those are the games that Arkansas has lost because those front courts, pose problems. In Arizona, there's no bigger and more physical than Arizona's with Mo and Koa and Awaka. So to me, that's something Arizona has to dominate the glass and has to dominate the paint, or else, there's a good chance they lose. With Arkansas, at the end of the day, Arizona could be more talented, physical, and all that, but they have the best player, arguably the best player in the tournament, in Darius Acuff. So, he could go out and score 35 tonight and change the game completely, right? Like, he's just one of those guys where he Kemba Walker's Arkansas to the national title game. Like, it wouldn't be a huge surprise if all of a sudden he just, continues this streak. So I think it's just a battle of, Arkansas gets out in transition. Like, everything Arkansas does well, Arizona does well as also. So in that regard, I don't think it's a scary matchup. I think the biggest thing, if you're an Arizona fan or player, coach, whatever, is Darius Acuff and making sure he just, doesn't go and drop 35 points and change the game.
Yeah.
Who guards him tonight? Is it Jaden Bradley? And if it's Jaden, how has he fared against other elite scoring guards this season?
I think they gave him different looks. Jaden Bradley is the one that makes a lot of sense. I know some people think Yvonne should guard him, but Yvonne's not quick enough to guard him. To me, it's got to be Jaden Bradley. And, he's done pretty well. Robert Wright on BYU, he's done well there against Wright. And I know, Acuff's better than these guys, but Houston, Kingston Flemings, he did well against Kingston Flemings when he guarded him. And so he's done well in that regard. And I think that one of the things is, as good as Acuff is offensively, he's not good defensively. And I think part of that is for a reason. They don't want him to get into foul trouble and get off the court. But Jaden Bradley needs to be aggressive. I mean, if Acuff scores, let's just say 35 points, there's no reason why Bradley, I go back to that Robert Wright matchup. Robert Wright's really good offensively, but, he doesn't defend because BYU needs him on the court. Jaden Bradley scored a season high against them with 26. So if Bradley's aggressive, I think he can I'd maybe not score as much as Acuff, but he can score. And so that's the matchup where, it's going to be tough. Acuff has had like 4 bad games all year. And so, it's tough to limit him, but His worst game of the season was probably Florida, and they had a good strategy with him, and it'll be interesting to see if Arizona tries to copy that.
You know, Jason, Lute Olson took Arizona to 4 Final Fours, winning the national championship in 1997. But Arizona's not been back to the Final Four since that 01 trip. And, you know, I mean, there's been 2 trips to the Elite Eight back-to-back with John Miller and, you know, now 4 trips in 5 years to the Sweet 16 under Tommy Lloyd. You know, what's the tenor of the Arizona fan base? And, you know, winning national championships is obviously most important, but is getting to the Final Four the most important outcome for this season for Arizona?
Yes, without a doubt, especially because of the strength of the team. Like, there would be people that would be okay. No one would be happy losing tonight, right? It wouldn't be like, oh, that was a great season. I've yet to meet someone that'll say, oh, Sweet 16 and Big 12 title, awesome. Right? Like, I think there's people that can live with the Elite Eight and be like, look, great season, won the Big 12, made the Elite Eight. But most people I talk to say it's Final Four or bust. It really is, because of how good this team is, because of the waiting and all that, the heartbreak. I mean, Arizona's had some good teams that have lost. I mean, they really have. And the last time they were in San Jose, they lost to a Xavier team that, frankly, they were better than. And so there's been plenty of Arizona teams, as you guys know, that have lost to teams that, frankly, they're better than. And so there's a lot of anxiety, but at the same time, it's definitely a Final Four or bust situation.
All right, Jason, does Arizona get it done tonight? Do they advance to the Elite Eight with a win over Arkansas?
I think so. I think at the end of the day, what Arkansas does well, Arizona does well. And then, you know, there's certain things that Arizona does well, like with the front court and rebounding and all that, but Arkansas just doesn't have the personnel to match. So I like Arizona tonight.
All right, as do we. Awesome stuff. Jason Shear, WildcatAuthority.com. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you.
Jason Shear, senior editor and publisher of WildcatAuthority.com, joining us here on Big 12 today to preview Arizona and Arkansas and discuss Tommy Lloyd, the Arizona head coach, and can they get over the hump and get past the Sweet 16. What'll be interesting to see if at any point, when Arkansas makes a run, because there are runs throughout the course of a game, how Arizona handles that adversity. Like we saw in the Big 12 tournament, anytime anybody made a run, Arizona had a counterpunch. Does that pressure start to mount at any point tonight? We will find out. All right, the final whistle is coming up next. He's Ari Timken. I'm James Westling. We put a wrap on today's edition after this break. This is Big 12 Today on Big 12 Radio, brought to you by Modelo.
Jaden Bradley guarded by Boogie Fland. Fland is a good defender. Up and over. Chenyelu goes Bradley.
Rest of our fabulous TNT Sports crew here from Tucson, Arizona.
Just vicious in the non-conference play. He's obviously almost always guaranteed to give you 10 and 10.
Bradley with the block there, went the other way, but they didn't have the ball. That's going to be out of bounds.
David Punch. That tough shot, challenge. Kribas, you talked about it earlier.
Yep.
The effect, even though he doesn't get a block shot, Fran, he clearly changed that one. And back to the other end. Jaden Bradley, chance for 4. Roy pulls off target from deep, buries the rebound. Karchenkov in transition. Bradley, look out!
When I think Kingston Clemens is the sole reason as to why.
Machukas threw it right away to Bradley all alone. Del Orso, three.
Tough one.
Oh, Karchenkov, what a save.
Nice.
Great look. Del Orso from Bradley.
Remember, it's not just the first shot, it's the offensive rebound.
Bradley trying to do it himself. He does! He hit it!
Big 12 today, here on Big 12 Radio, brought to you by Modelo. We had a full lineup of guests today, including Jason Shear, the senior editor and publisher of WildcatAuthority.com. We had Joseph Duarte from the Houston Chronicle, Ryan Shumpert from the Rocky Top Insider to get the Tennessee angle on the Iowa State game, and then Arizona State football coach Kenny Dillingham joined us earlier on the program. We are podcasting any of those guest interviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, right here on TuneIn On Demand. So Taman and I were talking during the break about just upcoming travel and things, and somewhere Ari decided to chime in and just become a part of the conversation, which was, you're not going to be here tomorrow? So on tomorrow's program, I may or may not be here.
Well, I mean, Taman was just, I guess, asking, our producer Taman was asking if you were going to Kansas tomorrow, and the only reason I could think of why that would matter would be if you were missing the show.
I will be here tomorrow.
Got it.
Yeah, I'm not going to miss the show. I mean, day after Sweet 16, previewing more Sweet 16 games, felt like the right time to just sleep in, take a day off. You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
I mean, I would be, yes, totally. In fact, why don't you go ahead and take the day off?
You didn't. There was no panic in your voice, or the body language was top notch in terms of if I was taking tomorrow off.
Okay, I need you.
There it is.
Yeah, totally.
I was not fishing for a compliment there. After my
so
wife
what
told me to never
time
wear this shirt
at
again.
Cafe Gecko tonight?
Bro, that game starts at like 9:30.
Well, I think so. The first one's at 8:45.
The first game's at 8:45 p.m. Central Time.
Yeah. So what? I mean, but there's games before then,
Even
James.
that game's going to start at like 9:30.
I thought we were doing birthday drinks, James.
We're doing the show tomorrow, and then I'm driving 6 hours. Sounds like the perfect day to be mildly hungover. Like, what?
I mean, yeah, totally. Look, you think too much. You think too much ahead. If you react in the moment to your wants, then like
I tried that on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, then you wake up and
Didn't go well.
Like these are all issues for tomorrow, James, to worry
Yeah,
about.
well, tomorrow James hates today, James. Okay, he's like, bad idea.
Well, who cares? Today's James has no consequences for tomorrow's James.
Life's too short.
That's right.
Life is too short, guys.
Plus, I think Taman's going to drive out the hour and a half to come hang out with us too.
Are you Taman?
Dot.
Oh, okay, yeah, same. I mean, Ari's really trying to rally.
I live really far from you.
I got to say, man, I respect the effort. Tremendous effort.
And for the record, I have to get audio after 2 late games.
Dude, elite scouting report. Like,
Nobody.
You have thought every scenario through. You're the ultimate hype man.
Just remember, nobody has it tougher than Taman.
Nobody does. The group text is going to be off the tee chains. The group text is going to be elite.
All right, so stay tuned for tomorrow's show to see if I had to Cafe Gecko by myself or with my two best friends. Today is a very, very, very good sports day.
Yeah, it's a big day.
Like, last Thursday was awesome, and it was for good reason. But today, so it's opening day in baseball.
Yeah, you know I don't do baseball, though.
Okay, well, I mean, it's a huge day. Opening day is a huge day. So, I mean, the point of that is, like, don't worry. I know all these games are tonight in basketball, but, like, your day is settled with all-day baseball. But I'll tell you something else that's today and going on during the day today. There are really important European World Cup qualifying matches that are going on today.
Okay.
So basically, there are still 4 World Cup spots that are up out of Europe. Okay? So Italy has not yet clinched a World Cup spot. In fact, Italy's missed 2 straight World Cups, which is crazy because Italy is one of the best soccer countries in the world, but has not been. So Italy plays Northern Ireland today. If they win that, they would play the winner of Wales and Bosnia in a final that would get them to the World Cup. Ukraine plays Sweden in a huge matchup. Again, Ukraine, Sweden, 2 teams that routinely make the World Cup. They will take on the winner of Poland and Albania, and that is a really tough path. 3 of those 4 teams have made World Cups in recent history. There's also Turkey playing Romania, Slovakia and Kosovo playing, and then Denmark and North Macedonia will take on the winner of Czechia and Republic of Ireland. That's the one I'm watching closest because my neighbor Cormac is Irish.
Okay.
And so he's super excited to see his team potentially make it to the World Cup in America. But, I mean, that's huge. So that's going on during the day today, along with baseball, and then tonight you get the Sweet 16. So, like, a very underrated sports day today.
Yeah. It's like a 10 seed that's in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
Underrated day.
Or like an 11 seed in the Sweet 16 that's taking on Purdue.
Year, nobody's like March 26th, but it's
right, exactly. It's almost like a 15 seed where it's like, whoa, all of these things are converging on one specific day to make this happen.
You know, here in Dallas, we're hosting the World Cup.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
That's your
okay.
That's your drop in on this topic is,
Dallas
hey, Dallas is hosting some of these games.
There's going to be some World Cup games here in Dallas.
The World Cup's in the U.S. this year.
I will say we have the most games of any host city.
Also a known fact.
In America.
Also a known established
fact. Didn't know that? Look at his face.
No, I feel like you just...
Taman didn't know
No, yes, I did.
He clearly didn't know it.
I mean, Taman, nobody has it rougher than Taman. You know that.
What?
Is that all you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I know about the World Cup is it's going to be here. There's going to be a lot of people here.
Awesome.
There's going to be a lot of people here.
Dynamite insight there.
It's going to be good. It's going to be big.
Just saying. Today's a great day to pack it in, grab some Modelo's, sit on the couch, and basically be there watching soccer, baseball, and college basketball all day.
Totally. I'm here for it.
Then join me at Cafe Gecko later.
I mean, that's what you could do. You could recruit some of the Big 12 Today audience to join you.
I just did.
I think you did.
Yeah.
What time are you going to be there?
Whatever time you show up. 6?
Very non-committal.
5:30?
Which
5? 4?
This is a
4:30?
master class of non-committability. Right here on this
I mean,
show.
it's not. It's exactly what I expected, which is why I'm pushing as hard as I'm pushing.
I mean, I'm
Look,
still,
if we're not going to do... When was your birthday, James?
My birthday was in February. We're only like
February
a
what?
month past.
February what?
19th. It's happening, Ari. My season is just now starting to kind of slow down. It's going to happen. There needs to be a little R&R, rest and recovery, a little DOMC, and then later on, there will be a big outing.
You're the Darren Peterson of the
There's
show.
going to be a big outing. Yeah, load management. I have
Load-
to manage. I have
Load.
to manage
Are
my
you going to
minutes.
play ever?
Got an erosion problem at our house. I don't know what to even do about that. Got the city emailing me. My wife just forwarding me emails like, figure this out.
Wait, what?
Got to go to Home Depot later.
Erosion
Got
problem?
to get a tire fixed again for the 17th time since I moved down here.
You're just making up excuses now.
I have a very busy
Look,
day.
Home Depot is right by
Told my
Cafe
wife
Gecko.
I probably won't be home until around noon. There's a lot going on. A lot going on. All right? And I'm pouting. I've been very grumpy for the last half hour because my wife texted me and said you should never wear that shirt again. And so I'm upset about it.
See, you grumpy
I was really excited
and
about
me
this.
grumpy are two different worlds.
I've been pouting for at least 30 minutes.
Yeah, like I had no idea.
Well, that's good.
If I'm grumpy within seconds.
Oh, yeah. I walked in. He said, I'm stressed today. I'm like, all right, buckle up, T-Chains. Buckle up.
No, but when I'm like legitimately in a bad mood, you know within like seconds.
Yes.
With you, it's like, I didn't even know you were in a bad mood.
It's the poker face.
Yeah, that. Or
Yeah.
What
did my wife say?
Are way more even-keeled and better at hiding your frustrations. I'm an open book. When I'm pissed off or frustrated, it's like easy as can be
You're
to
in a
read.
glass case of emotion.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
My wife sent me a screenshot of our show on Big 12 Studios and said, your shirt's a little matchy to your skin on the camera. So,
And the background.
that's a fun fact.
And the wood paneling.
I'm camouflaging my torso.
Kind of blend into the...
All right, don't worry about it. I'm camouflaging my torso. I felt bold when I made this wardrobe selection.
See, this is why, Lacey, he doesn't ever wear colors outside of black and gray.
You're always making fun of me
Yeah.
for my lack of, was that a pec flex?
No? If it was involuntary.
Okay, it felt very well timed. So yeah, I thought I'd brighten it up today.
Yeah, I mean, you
Never again.
This is the spring fling. Spring has sprung, and your shirt is the best example of it.
Feeling very festive.
I've kept the fall season alive, the winter, with my dreary and
Dressed like a walnut tree. All right, who do you like in the games tonight? Sweet 16. Let's go straight up.
I mean,
Let me
look,
give you
I think Italy
give you a
beats
nugget.
Northern Ireland.
Let me give you a nugget.
I think Ukraine beats Sweden. That's a
All right.
huge matchup. Give me Turkey over Romania.
All right.
Actually, give me Romania over Turkey.
Yeah, it feels better.
Yeah.
Hair transplants.
Yeah, and then give me Republic of Ireland over Czechia.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
I'm here for it. All right, in the 22 games played in the Sweet 16, Elite 8, and Final Four. What are you giggling about?
Oh, I thought you were going to be like, okay, I'm going to ask me a very specific, pointed question on the games that
No, this is a real stat.
Got it, okay.
So in the NIL era, in the 22 games in the 16, 8, and 4, the favorites are 20-2 straight up. 20-2. The only 2 losses were Duke's loss to Houston last year in the Final Four, and then Duke again in 2024 when they got upset by NC State in the Elite 8.
Wow.
Every other favorite has won in the NIL era this round moving forward.
So fade Duke is what you're saying?
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, and that stat really plays into the narrative around the tournament this year in a big way, which is, that Cinderella's time is up. The slipper does not fit.
Which sucks.
And even if you are lucky enough as a Cinderella to make it this far, like, time's up. And I mean, we've seen that in the past too, even in the pre-NIL era where there was parity. And look, there were teams that snuck through. I mean, think about George Mason and VCU and Final Four teams that weren't expected to be there, Florida Atlantic, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it felt like as all of the major upsets happened through the first weekend, the second weekend's where things settle down. I would love to know that stat before the NIL era. Give me that stat over the last decade. I'd be very curious to see what it would be because while I don't think it'd be that dominant, I think it would still be dominant because it, again, feels like we have our fun in games the first weekend. There's plenty of upsets. There's so many games, but then things really settle in that second weekend, especially when you have that full weekend the full week to prepare for your opposition. Everything's happening so fast and furiously at the start of the tournament, and crazy things happen. It's that second weekend where you have the full week to prepare for what that team does well in order to rectify the situation. So I guess it's a long way to say that, like, that number I don't think changes substantially even before the NIL era because it felt like, yeah, there were some upsets that snuck through and got to a Final Four, but for the most part, it was always favorites that won this round in the Elite 8.
Yeah, so I can't find the exact number, but in 2023, favorites won 44 of the 66. Overall, favorites went 15-1 straight up in the round of 32. It was just the third time ever that favorites went 15-1 or better.
Crazy.
So that was, 2 tournaments ago?
Yeah.
Where it was still pretty chalky.
All right, so who do you have, Texas or Purdue?
Honestly, I think I like all the favorites tonight.
So you're taking Purdue, Nebraska, Arizona, and Houston.
Correct. Yep.
The one I'd give pause to would be Nebraska.
Those teams split in the regular season. And I'm with you on that. But I lean Nebraska because of just how much of that's very much going to be a Nebraska crowd. They've sold out all of their allotment of tickets. They are flocking to Houston because they've never been in this spot. And now that they finally got kind of that monkey off their back and won a couple games in the tournament, I think they can get through to the next round.
Only thing you need to know about this game. Who has the better corn, Iowa or Nebraska?
Oh, Iowa.
Yeah, so Iowa's going to win.
Going to dominate.
Yeah.
Iowa State in a good spot, too. All right, that's going to put a wrap on today's show. We are back tomorrow at 8 a.m. Eastern, 7 o'clock Central Time. He is Ari Timken on social at Ari Sports, ARI Sports. I'm on social at James Westling. We've got T-Chains on the audio side. We've got Anthony Smith on the video side, producing and engineering. We are powered by Modelo. For now, we are out. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow, 7 a.m. Central Time, on the nose here on Big 12 Radio and Big 12 Studios on TuneIn and your home for the Big 12 Conference.
See you, Cafe Gecko. Peace.